Chapter 1559 Display of Remarkable Prowess 3 With a faint smile, Jiang Xinyue walked forward slowly and raised her sword with her fair hand. In Chaozu's eyes, this action seemed weak and lacking in strength, and he increasingly found the situation to be a joke. But just as Chao Su was prepared to receive the strike casually, the sword in Jiang Xinyue's hand was enveloped with a faint sword aura right before the attack landed. She slashed at her own pace, but the seemingly casual set of motions, however, stirred an overwhelming sensation of pressure in the surroundings the moment the sword aura landed. A look of astonishment flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes the moment she saw the sword aura that appeared dull and ordinary at first glance. Chao Su, who was initially absent-minded, suddenly felt a suffocating amount of pressure coming from the sky. His eyes widened slightly, and cold sweat beaded on his forehead as he looked at the sword aura Jiang Xinyue produced. The sword aura seemed to be able to pierce the air, and it was as though time had come to a standstill at this instant. An ominous feeling crept into Chaozu's heart. Never had he thought that Jiang Xinyue's casual slash would carry such immense sword aura. In just a moment, Chao Su did not dare to be nonchalant any longer and immediately took it seriously. He gathered all his strength in his body and instantly released all the powers of the impenetrable golden armor. The ground beneath his feet shattered into countless pieces from the massive impact. Even his feet, which were firmly rooted to the ground, retreated backward immediately. But this was still too late. Jiang Xinyue's slash seemed to be slow, but it was, almost unrealistically, as swift as a lightning bolt. In a flash, the bolt of sword aura struck Chaozu's body. Although he tried to dodge the strike in the last second, it was too late, and it landed right on his shoulder. Boom! Jiang Xinyue opened a huge cut on Chaozu's shoulder. Under the massive impact, he let out a yell as the ground beneath his feet shattered into pieces. A mouthful of blood splattered out of his mouth. He retreated in a ruffle as he glared at the smiling Jiang Xinyue in disbelief. How can it be? Chaozu's eyes were filled with shock. He never expected the physical strength of his impenetrable golden armor 4th level to be slashed apart by Jiang Xinyue so easily. Jiang Lin's lips curled into a sneer at the sight of the pale Chao Su. Jiang Lin could boast that he was rather talented in swordplay, but he could only be ranked close to the front few among the disciples of his generation in Taiyuan Valley. He was far from entering the top 3. However, Jiang Xinyue was ranked 3rd on the swordplay ranking of their generation. Even the confident Jiang Lin did not dare to compare with Jiang Xinyue in swordplay. Chao Su was simply embarrassing himself. What a pity! You could not receive my strike. I'm afraid you can't see him. Jiang Xinyue chuckled as she glanced at Chao Su mockingly. All Chao Su felt was acute pain in his shoulder, which almost tore him apart internally. If he did not use all his strength just now, he would have been split into 2 by Jiang Xinyue. Just you wait. Chao Su swore before miserably leaving Taiyuan Valley with his people. Useless. Jiang Xinyue scoffed. Then, she turned around and was about to leave when she suddenly noticed Jiang Shaobai beside Yi Qingtang. A look of surprise flashed across her eyes. Why are you? Without waiting for Jiang Xinyue to finish her sentence, Jiang Shaobai beamed. Sister Yu, your swordplay has become more and more exquisite. Jiang Xinyue's lips twitched slightly before she glanced at Yi Qingtang, who was beside Jiang Shaobai. Something seemed to flash across her eyes, but she did not say anything. Chapter 1560,000 Treasures Pavilion 1 The consecutive fights made Yi Qingtang realize the skills of these so-called extraordinary talents in the Jiang family. All the supreme family clans would send their best juniors to the martial arts championship. If Yi Qingtang wished to gain this chance, it was impossible with her current skills. After Yi Qingtang left the Temple of Shadows, she had been consolidating her new power constantly, and she was in complete control of it currently. Moreover, there were traces of a breakthrough from the cultivation in this period of time. However, this was far from enough. Jiang Shaobai led Yi Qingtang around the Taiyuan Valley, and one spot caught Yi Qingtang's attention. This is the 1,000 Treasure Pavilion. The Taiyuan Valley juniors like us can come here to exchange for some treasures if we gain honor points. Jiang Shaobai said with a grin as she glanced at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang had been to a place like Thousand Treasures Pavilion in Xianling Sect and exchanged for many good items. However, Xianling Sect in the First Mainland was incomparable to the domain monarch's Jiang family. Noticing that Yi Qingtang seemed to be interested in this place, Jiang Shaobai entered the place with Yi Qingtang. The Thousand Treasures Pavilion had a total of 7 floors. The higher the floor, the higher the grade of the treasures. Apart from weapons and elixirs, there were even battle pets. As long as one had sufficient honor points, any item could be exchanged in return. When Yi Qingtang walked into the Thousand Treasures Pavilion, 2 youths happened to be exchanging for an item. Is that the condensing ice glove? Yi Qingtang spotted a pair of ice blue gloves in one of the youth's hands in an instant. The glove had an extremely striking appearance and gave off a dazzling brilliance in the candlelight. Overall, it was presented in a translucent state as though it was made from glaciers. The condensing ice glove was an extremely precious weapon. When worn, a single punch could freeze rivers and oceans in an instant. Such an item could not even be seen in the First Mainland and was rare even in the Central Mainland. Jiang Shaobai seemed to not be interested in the condensing ice glove. Give me a bottle of Qi Yuan pills. Another youth told the person in charge with a smile. A look of surprise flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes the moment she heard that term. The Qi Yuan pill was a supreme-grade pill that could assist one's cultivation. Not only could it increase cultivation speed, but it could also change one's body composition. Anyone with a poor constitution could refine it through consuming this pill. However, this Qi Yuan pill was truly precious, and only a handful of master-grade alchemists could refine this item. When Yi Qingtang was in the First Mainland, she obtained plenty of master-grade and even grandmaster-grade elixirs. However, the alchemy grade in the First Mainland was acutely miserable when compared to the Central Mainland. Even a grandmaster-grade alchemist from the First Mainland could only be considered as a middle-grade alchemist at most in the Central Mainland. The youth obtained a bottle of Qi Yuan pills, which sounded a lot, but there was only 1 pill in the bottle. The Qi Yuan pill was extremely hard to source, and many family clans offered extravagant amounts of money just for 1 pill. Nonetheless, the pills refined by a master-grade alchemist were already scrambled for by the major forces, and anyone apart from the top forces simply could not obtain such a pill. The Temple of Shadows had plenty of elixirs and pills as well. However, those could only be used by the undead clan, and Yi Qingtang could only look at them. Chapter 1561 Thousand Treasures Pavilion 2. What the current Yi Qingtang needed the most was to raise her skills, so items that could refine one's constitution and increase one's cultivation speed was what she required. Not only did the Jiang family have master-grade elixirs, but even grand master-grade elixirs were available. However, the number of honor points required was overwhelming. The 2 youths finished exchanging their items and made their leave. However, on their way out, they were slightly surprised to notice Jiang Shaobai and immediately walked over. Shaobai, are you also here because you heard that the Thousand Treasures Pavilion just stocked some grand divine pills? There was a strange hint of fear in their voices when they spoke. Jiang Shaobai grinned as she hooked her arms onto Yi Qingtang's arm and said, I'm here to bring Sister Qing around and have a look. It was only after Jiang Shaobai spoke that those 2 youths noticed the stunning lady standing beside her. Furthermore, a look of surprise passed their eyes after hearing Jiang Shaobai saying Sister Qing. Yi Qingtang did not notice the unusual looks in their eyes as all her attention was fixed on the 3 words, Grand Divine Pill. The Grand Divine Pill was truly, as its name suggested, a Grandmaster grade pill. It was extremely scarce even among the major family clans, and Yi Qingtang did not think that this Thousand Treasure Pavilion would actually have such an impressive pill. If the Qi Yuan pill was said to slowly nourish and improve one's constitution, the Grand Divine Pill could completely renew one's constitution. This was exactly what Yi Qingtang needed. Cultivation was one matter, but if she could change her constitution, her cultivation speed would naturally increase multiple folds. Those 2 youths did not say much and merely looked at Yi Qingtang and Jiang Shaobai oddly before leaving. Although Yi Qingtang wished to look at more treasures in the Thousand Treasure Pavilion, She did not have a single honor point and could not exchange for any items even if she looked. Jiang Xiaobai endlessly introduced many things regarding Taiyuan Valley to Yi Qingtang. Compared to the quiet Jiang Qi, Jiang Xiaobai's introduction was much more detailed. The Jiang family's honor points were not only used to exchange for treasures in the Thousand Treasure Pavilion. It could also be used in the sacred ground. The Jiang family's sacred ground was where spirit energy was the richest. It was said that cultivating in it for a day was equivalent to cultivating outside for 30 days. Many Jiang family disciples yearned to enter the sacred ground, but unfortunately, the honor points required was too high, and they simply could not afford it. After Jiang Xiaobai's introduction, Yi Qingtang increasingly understood the value of honor points in Taiyuan Valley. To increase her skills as quickly as possible, she had to start from gaining honor points. And honor points were obtained through contributions to the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang's eyes brightened when she heard that. After bidding goodbye to Jiang Xiaobai, she went to the elder's residence and looked for the domain monarch founder Jiang Yu directly. Are you getting used to the valley? Jiang Yu was seated in a chair right now. His tiny frame was seated behind a table, revealing only a small head, which, however, had a mature-looking face. Only the cabinet elders were aware of his return to the Taiyuan Valley, and no one else knew that he had already returned. After all, Jiang Yu truly did not want too many people to see his current, tiny state. Thank you for your concern. All is well. Yi Qingtang replied respectfully. Chapter 1562 An Obvious Extortion. 1. Jiang Yu nodded slightly. Yu Qiong glanced at Yi Qingtang but did not say anything. Anyway, he was staying here for free, and Jiang Yu usually just ignored him. What else do you want to say? Jiang Yu noticed that Yi Qingtang seemed to have something else on her mind. I have something that I want to ask you, Domain Monarch Founder, Yi Qingtang said obediently. What is that? Jiang Yu said. I heard from the other disciples in the Taiyuan Valley that we can get honor points from contributions to the Jiang family? Yi Qingtang said slowly. That's right. Jiang Yu nodded. The honor point system was a rule he set with the inner sect elders when he first became the domain monarch. It was used to motivate the young generation to work harder and always prioritize the family. What is considered as a contribution to the Jiang family? Yi Qingtang asked curiously. Anything that honors our family. For example, saving our family people, joining battles. You don't need to rush all these since you just entered here. When your ability improves and you make contributions, there will be honor points awarded, Jiang Yu said righteously. A smile flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes, but she still appeared to be very curious on her face. Save someone in the family? Jiang Yu nodded. Yi Qingtang smiled. Then I can get the honor points now? Jiang Yu was slightly stunned, but Yu Qiong laughed secretly at the side. Now? Jiang Yu was confused. What did she do for her to get the honor points when she just entered the Taiyuan Valley? Who did you save? You. Yi Qingtang showed an innocent expression. Jiang Ye's expression darkened instantly. How could he forget about this? I happened to save you in the land of infinite demons, Domain Monarch Founder. I didn't expect that I could still get some honor points. Please prove that for me. Yi Qingtang smiled and said. Jiang Ye's expression darkened further when he heard that Yi Qingtang wanted to use this incident to exchange for honor points. Furthermore, he still needed to publicly vouch that she saved him. Yi Qingtang was the only one in the Jiang family who knew about how he was trapped in the land of infinite demons. No one else knew that his abilities were gone. He did not want others to know that the majestic domain monarch founder in the past had become a child with no power. How would he dare to meet others in the future if everyone knew about that? Jiang Ye's serious and righteous expression was gone, and now he looked even grimmer. No. He refused directly. Why is that so? Yi Qingtang was confused. It appeared that she did not know Jiang Ye's concern here. Jiang Yu wanted to vomit blood, but he could not ruin his prestige in front of one of his descendants. He said with a steady and deep voice, things that happened at the land of infinite demons were of a big scale and related to the god. It will cause more trouble if others know about that. Furthermore, you have seen so many powerful figures in the appearance of a child. The influence will be bad for you as they do not want their prestige to be destroyed here. I'm not afraid of that. I just want the honor points to level up. This is also a way to appreciate the effort you spent to bring me into the Elder Cabinet. I believe that the powerful figures must be very generous in order for them to reach that stage. Yi Qingtang pretended to not understand the meaning behind Jiang Ye's words and instead praised him. Chapter 1563 An Obvious Extortion 2 You're not scared, but I'm scared. Jiang Yu almost explained to Yi Qingtang that he cared about his prestige. However, after seeing how Yi Qingtang wanted to level up in order to bring honor to the family, the words choked in his throat. To be honest, it was undeniable that Yi Qingtang saved him. If not, he might still be trapped and waiting for death to come with the rest of the children in that forbidden place. However, if Yi Qingtang used this incident to gain honor points, he had to personally vouch for her. It was his decision to bring Yi Qingtang into the Elder Cabinet. He needed to be fair when rewarding Yi Qingtang with honor points. He had to tell the rest of the elders to prove that he was not siding with Yi Qingtang. However, this meant that Jiang Yu had to tell others that he was trapped in the forbidden place. He would never tell others about that. Jiang Yu coughed and said, "Though you have nothing to be bothered with, I need to be considerate for you. Since you are determined to level up, I will definitely support your decision." "Okay." Jiang Yu thought for a while and continued. "Don't mention saving me. Just say that you found a treasure in the forbidden place of the land of infinite demons. You handed that treasure over to me, which is equal to handing it over to the Jiang family. You can get honor points from that as well." Jiang Yu felt that it would be shameless if he did not give Yi Qingtang the honor points. However, his prestige would be ruined if he did so publicly to reward her for saving him. He then made up a perfect excuse. Yi Qingtang knew about Jiang Ye's concern. She would not even mention this matter if she did not wish to improve significantly in half a year's time. She totally agreed with Jiang Ye's excuse. "I really appreciate your concern for me, Domain Monarch Founder. I will work harder to cultivate after I get the honor points. I will not disappoint you." Yi Qingtang understood when the right time to compromise was. Jiang Yu sighed in relief. He waved his hand to signal Yi Qingtang to wait outside and called over the few elders of the inner sect. He needed to confirm the honor points for Yi Qingtang and also to check Yi Qingtang's potential. Yi Qingtang left the room, but Yu Qiong showed a cunning expression. Jiang Yu felt that he could slap him any time now. "Your descendant is really clever." Yu Qiong smiled and said. Jiang Yu frowned slightly but did not bother to reply to him. Soon, the two inner sect elders arrived. One of them was Elder Qian, who came back with Yi Qingtang the other day. Jiang Yu told them about how Yi Qingtang found a treasure in the land of infinite demons and how she handed it over to him. The two elders believed everything he said, and both agreed to give Yi Qingtang honor points as a reward. Jiang Yu understood that it was a big deal that Yi Qingtang saved him. She deserved a huge amount of honor points. Even though he made up an excuse, he did not want Yi Qingtang to lose out. He described how rare and significant the treasure was and decided to award Yi Qingtang with 10,000 honor points. "I heard about Yi Qingtang from Elder Qian. She has the variant heavenly demon bloodline. However, she missed the right time of cultivation as she was wandering outside with another family. Since she's back now, we can observe her potential. If she's very talented, there's still a chance to catch up even though she wasted more than 10 years. Elder Kuan nodded in agreement after hearing that Jiang Yu wanted to check Yi Qingtang's potential. Chapter 1564 Potential 1 Elder Qian agreed. The little monster was brought to the Taiyuan Valley when he was 7 or 8 years old. Foundation time was wasted. However, he showed incredible talent after just spending 4 to 5 years' time here. No one in the entire Taiyuan Valley has better potential than him. If he had come back earlier, even Jiang Yenyun would not be able to fight him. If Yi Qingtang has the same amount of potential, it will be the best. With the mutant heavenly demon bloodline inside her, she will improve significantly within a short period of time. Jiang Yu had high expectations of Yi Qingtang. The mutant heavenly demon bloodline in her brought enough hope to the Jiang family. If she had not been outside for 10 years, she would already be very powerful under the family's nurturing. The three of them reached a compromise and called Yi Qingtang over. Yi Qingtang saw the two inner sect elders here and could roughly figure out what was going on. But she did not express it out loud. A special Dharma artifact was used to test one's talent. Jiang Yu and the rest led Yi Qingtang to the martial hall. Every newborn in the Jiang family would be brought to the martial halls in Jiang family to test their talent. The extremely talented ones would be brought away by the elder cabinet. It was entirely empty in the martial hall. There was a huge round platform at the center. The pure and transparent pearl floating on top of the platform could test anyone's potential. Elder Qian looked at Yi Qingtang and said, "Go up there." Yi Qingtang stepped onto the round platform. After Yi Qingtang stood straight, Elder Qian lifted his hand, and a string of spirit energy flew into the pearl. After the spirit energy entered the pearl, a ball of fog suddenly arose from the pearl. The fog spread out slowly, and light rays flew downwards and surrounded Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang could feel that she was surrounded by something warm. Under the platform, Jiang Yu and the two inner sect elders all stared at the light rays around Yi Qingtang, waiting for the test result. Though Yi Qingtang had not been in the family for more than 10 years, she had the mutant heavenly demon bloodline that the Jiang family valued the most at. As long as Yi Qingtang was talented enough, there would be another incredible genius soon. Back then, the person with the mutant heavenly demon bloodline was unbelievably powerful. The three of them were very clear about that. Another person with the variant heavenly demon bloodline now appeared in the Jiang family. How could they not be excited? The white light rays around Yi Qingtang sparkled were shining bright colors. As the color changed, the two inner sect elders were more cautious now. After a short while, the light rays around Yi Qingtang showed a pale red color. The color was really light. The expectation in Jiang Ye's eyes changed into strong disappointment. The red light represented one's talent level. The deeper the red color, the more talented the person was. The most powerful descendant in the Taiyuan Valley now, Jiang Yenyun, had blood-red light rays for the test. The light rays were pure red to purple when testing the little monster. Chapter 1565 Potential 2 Jiang Yu was not expecting Yi Qingtang's potential to be as high as the two of them. However, he sighed in disappointment when he saw the light red rays. Yi Qingtang's potential was considered outstanding in other normal families. It was not too bad in the Jiang family. However, when it came to the inner sect with countless geniuses, her talent was too mediocre, or even could be considered as very bad. If Yi Qingtang did not have the mutant heavenly demon bloodline, based on her talent, she could not even enter the elder cabinet. Though Jiang Yu was mentally prepared for it, he still could not help but sigh. Such a pity. Besides Jiang Yu, the other two inner sect elders also showed disappointment after seeing Yi Qingtang's test results. If she had better potential, she might still be able to catch up even after wasting more than 10 years outside. However, based on her potential now, she was not considered as hopeless, but she was definitely incomparable with the rest of the disciples in the Taiyuan Valley. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang had not been with the Jiang family for more than 10 years. She missed the best period of time for cultivation. The elders really felt that it was hopeless. It was incredibly rare for the family to have a person with the mutant heavenly demon bloodline. However, they did not expect it would turn out like such. Yi Qingtang did not know what the red light represented. She could guess the results from the looks of disappointment on Jiang Ye's and the elders' faces. She turned back and looked at the light red color surrounding her, but she was surprisingly calm. Her spirit root was taken away by Yi Yu, and the heart of the heavenly Tao in her was being suppressed by the divine phoenix. Yi Qingtang herself also could not tell what her potential was. How could her real potential be evaluated when she was chained up? Come and look for me later. Jiang Yu glanced at Yi Qingtang and showed a complex expression. Elder Qian and the other elder left with Jiang Yu. All of them were disappointed as one mutant heavenly demon bloodline was wasted. They really felt pity for her. However, her bloodline was there. Though she could not rely on her potential to reach a supreme level, she might have some achievements if she worked hard enough. It would be difficult for her to reach the highest stage. Yi Qingtang stared at the back view of the three people as they walked out. She was in deep thoughts as she stood on top of the round platform. The spirit energy from the pearls still remained, and so did the light rays around her. Therefore she could not step down. After a short while, the light rays faded gradually. As Yi Qingtang lowered her head to contemplate, she did not notice the light rays changing suddenly as they converged back into the pearl. The light red color in the light suddenly seemed to be soaked by a deep red color. It was as red as fire. However, it only appeared for a second before the light returned back into the pearl. The change was not even noticed by Yi Qingtang herself, not mentioning Jiang Yu and the rest who left early. Yi Qingtang walked down the platform after the light rays disappeared. No matter what the test result was, nothing could affect her determination. She was under the death sentence in her previous life, but she cultivated until the holy venerate stage from pure determination. She was not that weak anymore in this life, and her cultivation speed was much faster than last time. She still believed in herself no matter what others said to discourage her. She believed that her life was in her own hands and never determined by fate. She would never give up any opportunity. Yi Qingtang had a plan in her heart as she stared at the 10,000 honor points in her hand. She would definitely join the martial arts championship held half a year from now. Yi Qingtang walked out of the martial hall and looked for Jiang Yu per his instructions. Chapter 1566 Skills 1 Yi Qingtang arrived at Jiang Ye's study room. Jiang Yu was frowning. Jiang Yu looked at Yi Qingtang in a complicated way. One of the reasons why he gave Yi Qingtang honor points was due to the mutant heavenly demon bloodline in her. She came to the Taiyuan Valley really late. The honor points served as a capital for her to build her foundation. It was good news to the Jiang family that Yi Qingtang had the mutant heavenly demon bloodline. He did not want to miss it. However, he felt pity for her as he thought about the talent test results. You were outside for many years, and since you're back to the Jiang family now, you need to learn from the basics. Jiang Yu pulled back from his thoughts and said, There are many skills in the Jiang family, but all of them are derived from the same basics. No matter how to cultivate our heavenly demon bloodline, we still need some foundations. Today, I'm going to teach you a few sets of skills. Jiang Yu stared at Yi Qingtang seriously. No matter how talented Yi Qingtang was, she still belonged to the Jiang family. Even if she could not reach the peak, she still deserved to learn the skills. Yes. Yi Qingtang was also very serious. She had acquired the mutant heavenly demon bloodline for quite some time, but she still did not know how to control it. Jiang Yu was satisfied with Yi Qingtang's serious expression. There are many skills in the world. The Jiang family uses 4 skills as the foundation: finger technique, movement technique, swordplay technique, and palm technique. Only when you master these 4 sets of techniques will you be able to actually utilize your bloodline. Come over. Jiang Yu nodded his head at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang took a step forward. Jiang Yu folded his hands at his back and took a glimpse at Yi Qingtang. He then stretched out one hand and pointed out one finger. The Jiang family's finger techniques are separated into 2 classes. The first one is for normal family members, and the second one is for those whose bloodlines are awakened. Today, I'm going to teach you the second type. Watch closely. Yi Qingtang nodded. Jiang Ye's face was expressionless. He just stared at Yi Qingtang calmly. He took a step forward and slowly pointed towards Yi Qingtang's glabella with his finger. The speed of this movement was extremely slow. Yi Qingtang focused on his finger and could see clearly how Jiang Ye's fingertips slowly approached her glabella. Time seemed to slow down at that moment. Yi Qingtang could only see the finger, which was about 1 meter away from her, gradually approaching. She could suddenly feel a strong and intense force surrounding her body as the finger got closer to her. It seemed that there were force waves spreading out from the finger. The movement was so slow, but Yi Qingtang felt that her body was tensed under that force. It was getting extremely difficult to even move her own finger. Jiang Ye's finger was an arm's distance away from Yi Qingtang's glabella, but she could feel the pain at her glabella clearly. Her whole body was soaked in cold sweat. It seemed that there was an invisible fiend cage in front of her about to swallow her. Jiang Yu suddenly withdrew his hand. The force surrounding Yi Qingtang disappeared. However, Yi Qingtang could still feel the pressure and pain. Chapter 1567 Skills 2 Jiang Ye's ability was almost all gone now. His finger movement just now was a pure technique without any power. However, Yi Qingtang could feel the pressure from the finger. How is it? Jiang Yu looked at Yi Qingtang's pale face and asked. Domain Monarch Founder, your finger technique is indeed strong. Yi Qingtang replied sincerely. She did not suspect at all that if his finger touched her glabella, her head would explode under the pressure. All the skills of the Jiang family consist of 3 levels. After you get used to it, you can attain initial success and then phenomenal success. The last is perfected success. If you want to master more than one skill, you need a long time to train and practice. A skill that appeared to be mediocre was actually more difficult to master. If one could master such a skill, there would definitely be incredible effects. Jiang Yu told Yi Qingtang the foundations of the finger technique one by one. Yi Qingtang listened carefully and remembered them all. There were countless skills in the world, but they were all derived from palm, finger, or leg techniques. The 4 sets of techniques that Jiang Yu mentioned were extremely important. Now, I'll teach you the movement technique. Jiang Yu looked at Yi Qingtang and said. After witnessing how powerful Jiang Ye's finger technique was, Yi Qingtang paid 120% attention. Jiang Ye's finger technique must already be in the realm of perfected success. Though he lost all his cultivation, the power of the skill was still strong. Jiang Yu nodded as he saw the serious sight from Yi Qingtang. Jiang Yu folded his hands by his back again. His tiny body remained stationary. Just as Yi Qingtang began wondering what was so special about Jiang family's movement technique, Jiang Yu suddenly took a step. This step was very slow. He lifted up his foot slowly and put down at an even slower speed. The moment he lifted up his foot, he was surrounded by an intense and powerful aura. And the moment his foot landed, a gust of wind spread out from his foot. A virtual golden dragon suddenly surrounded Jiang Yu. Yi Qingtang could feel the breath of the dragon dashing towards her face. Her hair and sleeves were swinging in the wind. This is known as the dragon steps. Jiang Yu only took one step and withdrew all the aura. The golden dragon dispersed, but the air in the surroundings was still filled with pressure. Based on Jiang Ye's dragon step standards, the house might collapse if he took a few more steps. Given that he did not use any spirit energy, Yi Qingtang watched carefully and was shocked. The step looked normal, but it seemed that it could crush the world. She could not even imagine the power of the dragon step if Jiang Yu used it at his prime. Yi Qingtang watched and learned carefully. Jiang Yu was satisfied. No matter how talented she was, there was still hope to improve if she was willing to learn. After that, Jiang Yu showcased the swordplay and palm techniques one by one and corrected Yi Qingtang patiently. Yi Qingtang remembered Jiang Ye's every word and did not dare slack off. The foundation skills looked easy, but it would take a long time to master. Any mistake along the way would ruin everything. There was no easy way out. As Jiang Yu was teaching Yi Qingtang the 4 sets of skills, a special guest appeared at the Taiyuan Valley. Chapter 1568 Oh My 1 Elder Qian and Elder Kun left the martial hall and headed straight to the public square to check if their disciples were working hard on their cultivation. Many Jiang family youths in the public square were drenched with sweat as they cultivated diligently. The remaining elders were supervising their cultivation and nodded to greet Elder Qian and Elder Kun. However, at this instant, a gust of wind rushed into the entrance of Taiyuan Valley. Everyone looked in that direction immediately and saw a lady in red whizzing in like a ball of fire. The elders' expressions darkened immediately. That lady landed on the ground slowly. She was an extremely gorgeous lady whose face had a combination of wildness, allure, and arrogance. Her red clothes swayed in the wind like a blazing flame and hugged her graceful figure. "How do I address you, miss? What are you here at the Taiyuan Valley for?" Elder Qian stood forward and asked the gorgeous lady. The lady squinted her eyes slightly. Her slightly lifted chin exuded a hint of arrogance while her furrowed brows seemed to be laced with impatience and anxiety. Her eyes scanned past everyone in the square before she subsequently asked, "Does this place belong to the domain monarch Jiang family?" The lattice voice was filled with impatience. "Yes," Elder Qin said. "That's right then." The lady nodded and said with arched brows, "Where is the wife of your domain monarch founder?" Everyone was stunned by what she said as they did not know where this lady came from or what she wanted. However, Elder Qian's face darkened after he heard her. "Miss, our domain monarch founder's wife has already passed 10,000 years ago. What exactly is this lady here for?" The lady was not at all surprised by the reply and merely raised her brow slightly. "Did your domain monarch founder remarry afterward then?" The lattice impolite tone caused the elder's expression to blacken, and they began to speak in a dissatisfied tone as well. The domain monarch founder loves his wife very deeply and did not remarry after she died. "That's good then." The lady seemed to be completely ignorant of the displeasure in the elder's tone. She looked around her surroundings and said subsequently, "I heard that your domain monarch founder has returned to the Jiang family and has come to this Taiyuan Valley. Go and call him out for me." The elders were angered by the lattice's arrogant words. The Jiang family youths were still unaware of the domain monarch founder's return and were extremely shocked to hear the news. It must be known that to these Jiang family youths, the domain monarch founder was an extremely mighty presence and was a powerful figure in their hearts. He was someone whom many people respected deeply. Now that they knew that the domain monarch founder had returned, they were extremely furious to see a lady who was so rude to him. "Who is she? How dare she tell our domain monarch founder to come out and meet her? Where did this crazy woman come from? Just chase her away quickly." The elders' expressions were nowhere better either. They only treated her courteously because they saw that she came here alone and that she was a lady. Yet she turned out to be incredibly arrogant and irreverent. "What exactly are you here for? The domain monarch founder of the Jiang family is not someone you can meet just because you want to. I advise you to leave immediately. Otherwise, I can only chase you out using force." Elder Kuan scoffed coldly. Chapter 1569. Oh my! The lattice eyes were filled with contempt as she scanned the people in the square in a disdainful manner. "I'm not interested in wasting time with you all. You better call Jiang Yu out obediently." All the elders and disciples' faces darkened. "Insolent. If you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for being impolite." Thinking that she was just a crazy woman, Elder Kuan completely lost his patience. He immediately bolted toward her and aimed a blow at that lady in the red. The lady in red did not have any change in expression. Looking at Elder Kuan, who lunged toward her, she simply lifted her hand slowly and pointed a finger straight at Elder Kuan. Elder Kuan seemed to be stopped by a powerful force and was immediately frozen in midair. "What?" Elder Kuan's expression changed slightly. The lady waved her finger impatiently. Boom! With a loud crash, Elder Kuan was flung in the direction of the lattice finger movement. Everyone in the square was dumbfounded. Elder Kuan is pretty skilled, yet he's so vulnerable when facing this lady? That lady sent Elder Kuan flying with just one finger? I have no time to waste with you all. Call Jiang Yu out or I will wreck Taiyuan Valley today. The lady in red narrowed her eyes slightly and swung her sleeves. An overbearing sensation of pressure suddenly loomed over everyone's head. Even the elders were breaking out in cold sweat under this powerful pressure. How does she have such terrifying power? The lattice's slight revelation of her power already terrified everyone. Everyone's hearts sank. This lady and the domain monarch founder seemed to be acquainted for a long time, and at the thought that the domain monarch founder's acquaintances must all be top powerful figures, the elders immediately exchanged a look. "We have offended you, senior. However, even if you want us to look for our domain monarch founder, you need to tell us your name. Otherwise, how can we notify the domain monarch founder?" Realizing that the lattice skills were way beyond all of them, the elders softened their tone at once. The lady in red waved a hand and withdrew the pressure on everyone before responding. "Tell Jiang Yu that I, Xie Wushang, want to meet him." Elder Qian immediately went to notify Jiang Yu after hearing her name. Currently, Jiang Yu had just passed down swordplay techniques to Yi Qingtang. He had intended to let Yi Qingtang try the 4 sets of techniques for him to see, but he noticed Elder Qian coming in hurriedly. "MHM? What is it?" Jiang Yu asked in a low voice. Elder Qian immediately said, "Reporting Domain Monarch Founder, a lady wishes to meet you." "A lady wishes to meet me?" Jiang Yu furrowed his brows slightly and said coldly, "What lady is this? How demanding of her. Does she think she can meet me just because she wants to?" Elder Qian replied. She said, "Her name is Xie Wushang." Jiang Yu's expression changed the moment Elder Qian spoke. "What did you say her name was?" Jiang Yu looked at Elder Qian strangely. "Xie Wushang." Jiang Yu took a deep breath secretly and responded immediately. "I got it. Tell her that I will come in a while." Elder Qian did not suspect anything and immediately returned as he thought to himself, "This Xie Wushang is indeed the Domain Monarch Founder's old acquaintance." Once Elder Qian left, Jiang Yu's expression turned ugly immediately. Yu Qiong noticed Jiang Yu's expression and could not help but laugh. "This Xie Wushang is truly infatuated with you. She has already chased you for over 10,000 years and is even able to find this place now." Chapter 1570. Oh my 3. Clearly, Yu Qiong knew Xie Wushang as well. Jiang Yu was not the slightest bit interested in talking to Yu Qiong right now and immediately looked at Yi Qingtang. "Bring me out of the valley immediately." "What?" Yi Qingtang was taken aback. "What is going on? Didn't Jiang Yu say that he wanted to meet that Xie Wushang earlier on? Why does he want me to bring him out of the valley now? Meet Xie Wushang?" Jiang Yu did not want to see her ever again in his life. Jiang Yu was very dashing back in the days, and coupled with his martial talent, many girls fell for him. However, Jiang Yu was deeply in love with his wife and no longer looked at anyone else ever since he fell in love with her. Even if others liked him secretly, he never paid any attention to them. Even after his wife passed, he was unable to put this love behind him. He instead entered the land of infinite demons and kneeled for thousands of years to plead for his wife's revival. Many ladies were head over heels for him, but he had never looked at them. This Xie Wushang was also one of the people who adored Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu could simply ignore the person if she was anyone else, but Xie Wushang was a powerful figure from the second domain. She was born with extremely great talent and had an arrogant nature. Ever since she met Jiang Yu, she could not forget about him. Regardless of whether Jiang Yu was married, she never gave up and pursued him all the way, tormenting Jiang Yu quite a fair bit. Jiang Yu stayed in the land of infinite demons for 10,000 years and originally thought that Xie Wushang had forgotten about him completely. Yet, unexpectedly, he had just returned, and Xie Wushang actually got news of it and came over. In the past, Jiang Yu could just spar with Xie Wushang when he met her to force her to retreat, but now, "Don't ask so much. Just bring me out of the valley secretly." Jiang Yu looked at Yi Qingtang and spoke. He knew Xie Wushang. Once they met, she would pester him endlessly. Yi Qingtang did not know why Jiang Yu wanted to do this but could only follow his orders when she saw his expression. "Follow me." Jiang Yu looked at Yu Qiong and said. Yu Qiong laid on the couch in an unperturbed manner and waved his hand lazily. "For what? She's here to find you. What has it got to do with me? I think you shouldn't run either. You've run away for 10,000 years, and it is about enough. Xie Wushang is quite pretty, has a good figure, and is very talented. You should just yield to her." Jiang Yu almost kicked Yu Qiong to the ground. He could not be bothered to talk to Yu Qiong any further and immediately had Yi Qingtang sneak him out of the valley. Yi Qingtang brought Jiang Yu and flew into the sky and out of the valley. But before they could fly out of the valley, a red figure suddenly appeared before the two people. Jiang Yu's face darkened the moment he saw that blazing red figure. "Jiang Yu, you're thinking of running again." Xie Wushang, who was floating in the air, squinted her eyes at Jiang Yu. While Jiang Yu was currently in the form of a child, she could clearly sense that it was none other than him given her martial realm. A look of surprise flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes when she saw the gorgeous lady before her. Then, Yi Qingtang slowly landed on the ground with Jiang Yu. Although she knew that Jiang Yu seemed to be avoiding this lady, they were spotted right now, and there was no other choice. Elders and disciples rushed over hurriedly as well. Xie Wushang, I've already told you clearly that we are not fated. Don't pester me anymore, Jiang Yu said with a dark expression. Xie Wushang's eyes narrowed and suddenly swept across Yi Qingtang, who was beside Jiang Yu. 1571. Oh my! Xie Wushang's gaze sharpened immediately when she noticed Yi Qingtang's beautiful face. You didn't accept me last time because of your wife. Now, is it because of this little lover beside you? Since that's the case, I will kill her and see if there's still anyone who can stand between you and me. Xie Wushang had a murderous glare, and she directly aimed a blow at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was dumbfounded. How did she become Jiang Ye's little lover? Yi Qingtang's face was ash-white as she looked at the murderous air surrounding Xie Wushang and the powerful aura that filled the air. Madam Founder, you're mistaken. I am not the Domain Monarch Founder's lover. I am just a clan member of the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang said hurriedly, seeing that she was about to be struck dead by the jealous Xie Wushang. The words, Madam Founder, extinguished the murderous air around Xie Wushang immediately. She retracted her hand abruptly and smiled at Yi Qingtang, whom she wanted to kill just a while ago. Jiang Ye's face darkened further. Yi Qingtang broke out in cold sweat out of fear. Sorry, Domain Monarch Founder. She could not be blamed. It was really because Xie Wushang was too powerful. He who understood the times was a wise man. Little girl, you are a good talker. Are you really his descendant? Xie Wushang spoke. Yes, I am indeed a descendant of the Jiang family. Yi Qingtang immediately disassociated herself from Jiang Yu. She would die really wrongfully if she was killed for being viewed as Jiang Ye's lover. Xie Wushang was still a little doubtful, and she looked at Jiang Yu. She knew that Jiang Yu would never lie about such matters. Otherwise, he would not have rejected her repeatedly over these years. That's right, Jiang Yu said. Xie Wushang chuckled immediately and looked at Yi Qingtang with a friendlier attitude. Perhaps the address of Madam Founder was really too much to her liking. There will only be one person as my wife in my life. Xie Wushang, there is no possibility between us, Jiang Yu said coldly. Xie Wushang's expression darkened in just a moment. Jiang Yu, I've pursued you for so many years, but you hugged your dead wife and kneeled in the land of infinite demons for so many years. Am I not better than a dead woman? Xie Wushang's expression was dark to the extreme. Xie Wushang was endowed with great talents and was a known figure in the second domain. She had a beautiful appearance, and plenty of people did all they could to gain her favor. She was a delicate treasure cherished by the masses, but she compromised in every possible way when it came to Jiang Yu. She had pursued him for 10,000 years, yet he wasn't even willing to spare her an eye? Jiang Yu, my patience is limited. I'll give you one more chance. Are you willing to be with me? Xie Wushang narrowed her eyes as a trace of murderous intent emerged in her eyes. The spirit energy around her gradually intensified, and an invisible pressure diffused in the air. The surrounding elders and disciples who followed over were truly dumbfounded. Why didn't they expect this Xie Wushang and their Domain Monarch Founder to have such a relationship? Watching the formidable Xie Wushang release her pressure gradually, everyone in the Jiang family could not help but break out in a cold sweat. Jiang Ye's complexion did not seem well either, but he showed no signs of giving in. Jiang Yu, I'm asking you one last time. Are you willing to be with me? If you reject me again, I won't let you be with anyone else in the future, even if that means killing you, Xie Wushang said. "1572. Oh my 5-inch, my answer is still the same even if you ask me 1,000 more times." Jiang Yu replied emotionlessly. The Jiang family members broke out in a cold sweat when they saw Jiang Ye's resolute attitude and Xie Wushang's darkening expression. Domain Monarch Founder, there is nothing bad about Madam Founder either. Why don't you yield to her? An elder said while enduring the powerful pressure. Just Xie Wushang's skills themselves made her completely qualified to become the Madam Founder of the Jiang family. The Domain Monarch founder's wife had passed a long time ago, and it was time he lay it down. Moreover, this Xie Wushang was so infatuated with the Domain Monarch founder, and such devotion was truly hard to find. Jiang Yu glanced expressionlessly at the people who made these sarcastic remarks. If he wanted to yield to her, he would have done so a long time ago. Why would he wait until now? Alright, you forced me to do this. Xie Wushang laughed from the extreme anger, and her gorgeous face was filled with smiles. Jiang Yu, Xie Wushang, have never treated anyone with such devotion, but you trampled over it in the mud. Since I can't gain your heart or your person, I will not let anyone else have what I want. Then the aura around Xie Wushang surged, and a murderous look appeared in her eyes. Seeing the enraged Xie Wushang, Jiang Yu secretly squeezed the space ring on his finger and immediately took out a Dharma treasure, which he used to fly to the sky and escape. He originally did not intend to use the Dharma treasure at this time, otherwise, he would not have told Yi Qingtang to bring him out. However, he could only do so now. The people of the Jiang family did not expect Jiang Yu to want to avoid Xie Wushang to this extent and were stunned. Jiang Yu, you think you can run? With a scoff, Xie Wushang suddenly soared up and chased after him. Everyone remained stunned as they looked at Jiang Yu and Xie Wushang soaring to the sky one after another. Madam Founder only said that in the moment of anger. Domain Monarch Founder, why must you be this way? Domain Monarch Founder, don't leave. Madam Founder is devoted to you and will not really kill you. She may have said that in the moment of, that person was not done with his sentence. But Xie Wushang formed a sword with her red spirit energy and slashed at Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu barely dodged the sword aura, but the mountain beneath him was struck into two instantly. The person who was trying to persuade Jiang Yu just now was flabbergasted. She freaking wanted to kill him for real. Yi Qingtang was dumbfounded as well as she did not expect Xie Wushang to be for real. Based on her stance, Xie Wushang really wanted to kill Jiang Yu. In the sky, Jiang Yu and Xie Wushang flew across the sky rapidly one after another, and the sight left everyone in the Jiang family dumbstruck. This is a crime of passion. The little white tiger in Yi Qingtang's arms mumbled meaningfully as it looked at the two figures that gradually went out of sight. Yi Qingtang was silent. What darn crime of passion? She had just learned 4 sets of techniques from the Domain Monarch founder, and he left just like that. Based on Xie Wushang's attitude, their fight would probably continue on endlessly. Yi Qingtang reckoned that she need not hope to meet Jiang Yu anytime soon. Yi Qingtang was upset and disappointed, and such emotions were felt even more strongly by the Jiang family elders. The Domain Monarch founder finally returned to the Jiang family yet had to leave so soon. However, they really did not expect the Domain Monarch founder to have such a love affair outside. Furthermore, Xie Wushang actually was serious about her words. Those two people flew so rapidly that even Elder Qian and the rest did not have the chance to persuade Jiang Yu any further. 1573 Cultivation 1. The youths of the Jiang family had not gotten over their excitement about the Domain Monarch founder's return, yet the Domain Monarch founder had left already. While they were very surprised about the Domain Monarch founder's child form, they did not think much about it and simply thought that the Domain Monarch founder's powers were boundless and that he learned a special technique to return to his youth. Elder Qian and the rest saw that there were no other options and could only instruct everyone to continue with their cultivation. Meanwhile, Yi Qingtang sighed softly and returned to her room, where she practiced the 4 sets of techniques Jiang Yu taught her. Those techniques may look simple, but mastering them was not an easy thing to do. Just the finger technique itself took Yi Qingtang an entire afternoon. Nonetheless, her finger pointing was still weak and had no imposing air at all. Yi Qingtang was not anxious though, as she was aware that this foundational technique could not be achieved in a day and had to be practiced diligently. For 2 whole days, Yi Qingtang had been figuring out the method to master this finger technique and repeatedly cultivated the same technique. Despite her efforts, there were no signs of impatience on her face. If she was exhausted, she would sit on the ground to cultivate before continuing with the technique once she recovered slightly. Becoming a powerful figure was never easy. What Yi Qingtang had more than others was nothing but the willpower she sharpened over 300 years. Knowing that it was beneficial to her, she could continue to practice no matter how difficult and mundane the process was. After 2 sleepless days, Yi Qingtang was finally much more familiar with the finger technique. Although not as imposing as Jiang Yu, her finger pointing could now cause a gentle breeze to blow around her finger, and her finger had much more power than before. The little white tiger was sprawled on the bed as it fell into a trance while watching Yi Qingtang repeating the same thing over and over again as though she never got tired. If not for Elder Qian summoning Yi Qingtang, she could probably still cultivate in the room alone for half a month and remain oblivious to fatigue and hunger. Elder Qian. Yi Qingtang greeted him respectfully when she arrived at Elder Qian's living quarters. Elder Qian glanced at Yi Qingtang with a rather complicated expression and sighed in his heart. Yi Qingtang was originally brought into the Elder Cabinet by the Domain Monarch founder, who also intended to personally teach her. However, Xie Wusheng's arrival 2 days ago messed up this plan. The Domain Monarch founder was nowhere to be found in the past 2 days, and it seemed that he would be unable to return anytime soon. With his departure, Yi Qingtang, who had just entered Taiyuan Valley, was now all alone. If she had outstanding talent coupled with her mutated heavenly demon bloodline, she would definitely be a talented junior valued by all. However, she seemed rather weak and worthless. Nevertheless, she ultimately had the Jiang family bloodline, and since she had already entered Taiyuan Valley, there was no such thing as casting her aside. After a discussion among the cabinet elders, it was decided that Elder Qian, who returned together with Yi Qingtang, would take over the Domain Monarch founder's job in guiding Yi Qingtang through the foundation martial techniques of the Jiang family. Elder Qian did not think much about teaching Yi Qingtang. Thinking that the Domain Monarch founder left Taiyuan Valley not long after he returned, Elder Qian came to the conclusion that the founder must have not taught Yi Qingtang any martial techniques. Then, Elder Qian glanced at Yi Qingtang and spoke. You have entered Taiyuan Valley and should learn the martial techniques of the Jiang family. However, you do not have a solid foundation and still need to rebuild it. The Jiang family has a total of 4 types of foundational techniques. I will teach you the finger technique first today. Remember it by heart and cultivate diligently when you return. I will teach you other things next time. Although he knew that Yi Qingtang's talent was mediocre, Elder Qian was still a rather responsible person. (1574) Cultivation 2. Yi Qingtang originally planned to tell Elder Qian that the Domain Monarch founder had already taught her 4 sets of techniques. However, she stopped herself when she considered the difficulties she faced when practicing the finger technique. The Domain Monarch founder was not in the valley right now, and she could not ask him about anything she did not understand. Now that Elder Qian was going to reteach her, she could watch carefully and ensure that there were no errors in her cultivation in the future. Curiosity, diligence, and humility, Yi Qingtang understood their importance and genuinely wanted to ask for guidance. Elder Qian saw Yi Qingtang's positive attitude and was satisfied. Even if she could not become a top powerful figure, she could not ruin the Jiang family's reputation at the very least, and her future was dependent on her luck. Elder Qian immediately performed the finger technique before Yi Qingtang's eyes immediately. While Elder Qian's finger technique was powerful, it was still quite lacking when compared to the Domain Monarch founders. However, he did his best as he was extremely patient and told Yi Qingtang about all the important points. Yi Qingtang looked very closely. Comparing how she practiced in the past 2 days and Elder Qian's finger technique, she faintly felt the difference and was grateful on the inside. Elder Qian was rather pleased with Yi Qingtang's serious attitude toward learning. Although he was aware of Yi Qingtang's mediocre talent, he guided her attentively on the account that she was studious and serious. Elder Qian guided Yi Qingtang repeatedly for the entire afternoon and corrected some of her mistakes, which benefited her understanding greatly. Practice well when you're back. I will teach you other things after some time, Elder Qian said slowly. There were many youths in the valley, and he himself had quite a number of disciples as well. Thus, he had no time to monitor Yi Qingtang's cultivation all the time. Given Yi Qingtang's talent, She probably needed at least 1 month to be familiar with and master this finger technique. It would be alright if she could practice diligently, but if she slacked off, nothing could help her anymore. Yi Qingtang nodded and thanked Elder Qian sincerely. Although she could feel that Elder Qian did not value her much, he was impartial and did what he could, which she was extremely grateful for. As Elder Qian watched Yi Qingtang leave the room, he could not help but shake his head and sigh. What a pity! Elder Qian was very satisfied with Yi Qingtang's eagerness to learn, but if her talent could be a little greater. Elder Qian did not think too much either, and these thoughts were diverted away when other youths came to seek guidance. After all, the Jiang family still had to prioritize the training of top talents. As for Yi Qingtang, her outcome was dependent on her luck. After gaining Elder Qian's guidance, Yi Qingtang had a sudden flash of insight and was already very familiar with the finger technique in just 2 days. Afterward, Yi Qingtang went through the palm technique, movement technique, and swordplay technique individually to familiarize herself. Perhaps because of Elder Qian's attentive guidance where he pointed out the main points of the Jiang family's techniques, Yi Qingtang understood many key aspects of those 3 techniques without any extra guidance from Elder Qian and could learn them smoothly and easily. Yi Qingtang almost never left her room for a whole month. Apart from stepping out to have a meal every 2 or 3 days, the remaining time was all spent in the room cultivating. She either familiarized herself with the 4 techniques or cultivated through meditation. She truly wasted no time. Exactly because of such diligence, Yi Qingtang was skilled in all these 4 techniques in just a month. Furthermore, Yi Qingtang also obtained a huge advancement in her skills through this high-intensity cultivation. 1575 Cultivation 3. She advanced straight from the peak of Arcane Supremacy 8 Heaven to the peak of Arcane Supremacy 10th Heaven and was only 1 step away from the Heavenly Venerate realm. Although Yi Qingtang's martial realm was low, she mastered 4 new sets of cultivation techniques and advanced 2 small realms consecutively in just a month. This speed was indeed shocking. It was just that no one noticed her because she rarely left her room and neither her martial realm nor endowment was high. Yi Qingtang was not anxious though. Thinking that she still had 10,000 honor points in her hand, she decided to rest for a day before heading to the Jiang family's sacred cultivation ground to increase her skills. After making this plan, Yi Qingtang surprisingly allowed herself to rest for a day. The moment she opened her door, she saw Jiang Shaobai kneeling at her door while playing with a baganadier with a lowered head. Hearing the sound of the door, Jiang Shaobai looked up immediately, and a wide smile bloomed on her face suddenly. "Sister Qing, I've been waiting for a long time. If you hadn't come out soon, I'm afraid I would have died of starvation outside your door." Yi Qingtang did not know how to react when she saw the pitiful-looking Jiang Shaobai. Yi Qingtang did not know what was up with this little girl, but every time Yi Qingtang left her room to eat in this past month, Yi Qingtang would always see her and be dragged to have her meal. Gradually, the 2 of them reached a subtle rapport, and every 2 to 3 days, Jiang Shaobai would wait for Yi Qingtang outside her door to have their meal together. "If you die from starvation, wouldn't I be a huge sinner? Get up. Let's go and eat together." Smiles filled Yi Qingtang's eyes. She was not against Jiang Shaobai getting closer to her. Although she felt that it was rather strange, she somehow felt that Jiang Shaobai did not mean any harm. With a grin, Jiang Shaobai hugged Yi Qingtang's arms and walked out. Along the corridors, Jiang Qi saw the back view of Jiang Shaobai and Yi Qingtang leaving together and frowned instinctively, but he remained silent in the end. Yi Qingtang rarely left her room this month, and in addition, she had just come to Taiyuan Valley. Thus, logically speaking, there should only be a few people who recognized her. However, as she was always with Jiang Shaobai whenever she appeared, she attracted the attention of many people. Jiang Shaobai had an extroverted personality. Yi Qingtang found out that many people always greeted Jiang Shaobai whenever she was out with her, and it seemed that Jiang Shaobai had good relations with the people in the valley. "Shaobai, why are you here so late today? We were all waiting for you." A 16 or 17-year-old waved his hand once he spotted Jiang Shaobai's figure. A group of youths who usually hung out with Jiang Shaobai was already seated at the table. Who told you all to wait? It's not like I can't eat by myself. How long-winded, said Jiang Xiaobai before pulling Yi Qingtang to sit with them. The youths at the table were all focused on Jiang Xiaobai as they chatted and laughed. Because of Jiang Xiaobai, Yi Qingtang frequently had her meals together with this group of teenagers. However, Yi Qingtang was like a transparent person that did not exist to them, and barely anyone talked to her. Yi Qingtang did not mind either as she was fully occupied with cultivation matters. However, she vaguely sensed that although these youths always joked around with Jiang Xiaobai, they seemed to be rather fearful of Jiang Xiaobai from their tone. Even if they were chastised by Jiang Xiaobai, they mostly laughed it away and never fought back. Sister Qin, are you still going to stay in your room this afternoon? Jiang Xiaobai blinked and asked Yi Qingtang while biting her chopsticks. "1576 Cultivation 4, I wish to go to the sacred ground," Yi Qingtang said. The moment she spouted those words, the youths who ignored her focused their eyes on her for the first time and looked at her with odd expressions. You have honor points? One of the youths asked doubtfully. Yi Qingtang could tell his disbelief but did not take it to heart. The sacred ground? Which sacred ground do you wish to go to? The Taiyuan Valley's sacred ground is split into 5 canyons, and each of them has a different cultivation effect. The better the effect, the more honor points required. Jiang Xiaobai explained. I haven't thought about it yet. I'll take a look then. Yi Qingtang only had 10,000 honor points and still did not know how many honor points were required for each of the 5 valleys, so she still needed to take a look before deciding. Biting the ends of the chopstick, Jiang Xiaobai took a look at Yi Qingtang and did not say anything else. Yi Qingtang left first after finishing her meal. Although she originally wanted to rest for a day, she abandoned that idea and headed to the sacred cultivation grounds at once. She did not have any more time. Once Yi Qingtang was out of everyone's sight, those youths finally spoke. Xiaobai, this Yi Qingtang's endowment is mediocre and is the bottom among all the youths in the bottom. Why are you always with her? A youth frowned rather unhappily. If not for Jiang Xiaobai, they would never interact with someone with mediocre talent like Yi Qingtang. Jiang Xiaobai did not rush to reply. Rather, she took a sip of water at her own pace, wiped her mouth slowly, and finally replied. I'll hang out with whoever I want. Since when was it up to you all to tell me what to do? Her tone was calm but devoid of the usual clarity and more loaded with gloom. Those youths sharply sensed Jiang Xiaobai's unhappiness and immediately changed their words. Xiaobai, we did not mean to tell you what to do. You also know that Jiang Yenyun and those bunch of people are up to something recently. The martial arts championship is in 5 months, and I heard that the people on Jiang Yenyun's side are working extremely hard for it. We don't wish for Jiang Yenyun to obtain a spot in the martial arts championship. In terms of endowments and innate talent, no one else is better than you in the entire Taiyuan Valley. That's right. If you were the same age as Jiang Yenyun, that fellow would already have been crushed by you. He is so arrogant now only because of the fact that he has been in the valley since young. Why waste time on that Yi Qingtang? If you like her, the few of us can just give her some advice. You can just set your mind at rest and prepare for the martial arts championship. To these youths, they simply had no idea why Jiang Xiaobai treated Yi Qingtang so differently, and neither could they understand what she was thinking. They only treated it as though Jiang Xiaobai was interested in Yi Qingtang. There was truly no need for Jiang Xiaobai to waste time interacting with a teenage girl that just entered the valley with low skills and endowment. That's right. If you think highly of her, we can just train with her. Everyone else agreed. Given Yi Qingtang's realm, she would benefit greatly when any one of them provided a few tips. I know what I'm doing. Instead of nagging over here, why don't you all scram back to cultivate? I heard that you all fought with Jiang Yenyun's people and that the outcome was not too good. Jiang Xiaobai cast them a look. Everyone laughed awkwardly. Chapter 1577 Cultivation 5 The Jiang family had countless extraordinary talents, but those who could stand at the tip of the pyramid could be counted. Jiang Xiaobai and Jiang Yenyun were one of those few people. Furthermore, Jiang Yenyun was currently the most formidable junior in Taiyuan Valley. Some elders even may not win against him in a spar. Ever since Jiang Xiaobai and Jiang Yenyun met, they were on unfriendly terms, and the youths on both sides had been fighting both openly and covertly for a long time. The martial arts championship spot was one of the targets of their competition. Although the number of spots available for the martial arts championship was still unknown, tension had already begun filling the air. On the other side, Yi Qingtang headed to the Jiang family's sacred ground. It was the deepest corner of Taiyuan Valley where a mountain range split the boundless valley into 5 canyons. A Jiang family warden guarding outside the canyon was recording something with his head lowered and only looked up when he felt someone getting close. His eyes subsequently landed on the alluring girl who carried a little white tiger in her arms. "Hello. I wish to enter the sacred grounds to cultivate. May I know what rules there are?" Yi Qingtang asked. The warden glanced at Yi Qingtang and found her to be extremely foreign. Then, he recalled the rumor of the Domain Monarch founder's return. He seemed to have heard that the Domain Monarch founder brought a Jiang family junior back to train with great care. However, that junior was found to lack endowment after the test, so the Domain Monarch founder lost his patience and left without caring about her anymore. When the Domain Monarch founder left Taiyuan Valley, only a few elders and juniors were present, and everyone had a tacit agreement to keep mum about the reason behind his departure. Rather, those who were unaware falsely assumed that the Domain Monarch founder was dissatisfied over a lacking junior who he chose and thus left to not waste any time. The warden did not speak and merely raised his hand and tapped the golden tablet at the entrance, signaling Yi Qingtang to look at it herself. The Taiyuan Valley sacred ground was split into 5 canyons, namely the Gong, Shang, Jiao, Zheng and Yu canyons. The cultivation effects became more obvious and prominent in that sequential order. A day of cultivation in the Gong Canyon was equivalent to 10 days outside. A day of cultivation in the Shang Canyon was equivalent to 20 days outside. Following this pattern, a day of cultivation in the Yu Canyon was equivalent to 50 days outside. However, the closer to the end of the sequence, the larger the number of honor points required for that canyon. A day of cultivation in just the Gong Canyon required 2,000 honor points while the Yu Canyon required 10,000 honor points. Yi Qingtang had a total of 10,000 honor points, and if she used them in the Yu Canyon, she would have to leave after a day. Apart from increasing the cultivation speed, the spirit energy in the different canyons had different refinement effects on the body. The closer to the end of the sequence, the better the effects of the canyon. Yi Qingtang weighed her options and ultimately decided on the Gong Canyon. Her current realm was not high, and there was a limit to the amount of spirit energy she could absorb. If she went to the Yu Canyon, the one-day duration would probably be wasted. "I want to enter the Gong Canyon for 5 days." Yi Qingtang handed in the honor points to exchange for a chance to cultivate in the Gong Canyon for 5 days and was immediately led into the Gong Canyon by the warden. Right after Yi Qingtang entered, 2 youths who were approaching the sacred grounds noticed the back view of Yi Qingtang entering Gong Canyon. "Isn't that the girl that has always been beside Jiang Xiaobai recently?" A youth squinted his eyes and said, "Jiang Xiaobai has such great innate talent, but God knows what she is thinking to actually waste time on that girl. I think she can forget about reaching Brother Yanyan's realm in this lifetime." Another youth sneered. Chapter 1578 Breakthrough 1. Jiang Xiaobai has always been like that. But Jiang Yulong and the others still follow her lead. I think they're all fools. The 2 youths conversed for a while before leaving together. Yi Qingtang slowly walked into Gong Valley. A cool breeze blew from the valley, brushing past her cheeks. The entire valley was filled with rich spirit energy. There were many air vents in the ground, and from time to time, steam would shoot out of them, filling the entire valley with hot steam. Yi Qingtang walked within the valley for a while and noticed that the spirit energy was mostly evenly distributed throughout the valley. However, there was a little more spirit energy in the areas where there were more air vents. There's probably something peculiar beneath the ground of this valley. Yi Qingtang's gaze fell on the air vents that were continually shooting out steam. She felt curious but did not waste time analyzing it. She could only stay in the valley for 5 days. She must make the best of this short time. Now, her cultivation realm was just a step away from the heavenly venerate realm. Otherwise, she would not have used up all her honor points here. Arcane supremacy and heavenly venerate were just a realm apart, but between them was a gulf that was almost impossible to cross. Once crossed, one would realize that the realms were completely different. Yi Qingtang calmed herself down and sat cross-legged at a spot with the most air vents. Although steam surrounded her and it was as hot and suffocating as an oven, she slowly closed her eyes and allowed herself to sink completely into the spirit energy. She slowly guided her spirit energy around her body and through her meridian points. She cultivated for 5 days and 5 nights. During these 5 days and nights, Yi Qingtang did not drink a drop of water or move an inch. She continually guided her spirit energy around her body and sensed that the invisible door to the next realm, which had been blocking her, was being slowly pushed aside. The surrounding steam reddened Yi Qingtang's pale face. The little white tiger, who had been cuddled in her arms, could not stand the damp heat of the steam. It shook its fur and crawled down to look for a cooler place. But at that moment, the little white tiger saw that Yi Qingtang's expression lacked its usual willfulness, so it kept quiet and did not make any noise. On the 5th night, in the quiet of the night, a golden ray of light suddenly burst forth from Yi Qingtang. The golden ray rushed towards the heavens, lighting up the entire dark valley. But the sacred ground was deep within Taiyuan Valley, and it was late at night, so no one noticed these signs of a breakthrough. When the golden light shot back into Yi Qingtang's body, Yi Qingtang suddenly opened her eyes. The golden glow that floated around her meant she had successfully broken through the first door of the heavenly venerate realm within these 5 days. She had finally entered the heavenly venerate realm. She puffed out a hot breath, and a smile surfaced on her face. She lifted her hand and casually wiped away the sweat on her cheeks. Then she looked at the time. She still had half a day before she had to leave the valley. Although she had received a breakthrough, Yi Qingtang did not dare to waste time. These 10,000 honor points had been hard to come by. She intended to fully grasp every minute and every second and continue cultivating. Yi Qingtang only walked out of Gong Valley the next afternoon. Her entire aura had changed subtly. It's a pity that I've used up all my honor points. Yi Qingtang returned to her room to wash herself up. She sensed the new strength within her body. She might have entered the heavenly venerate realm, but she still had quite some way to go before she could enter the martial arts championship. There were still 5 months left. Within these 5 months, she had to do her best to narrow the gap between her and others. Chapter 1579 Two-star constellation 1. The youths that hung around Jiang Shaobai were around the 2nd or 3rd heaven of the heavenly venerate realm, not to speak of the others. It would be wonderful if I was at the Temple of Shadows. Then I might have been able to enter the illusory void to train. Yi Qingtang could not help thinking of the illusory void in the Temple of Shadows. Although the god of nature was not very reliable, the illusory void was a wonderful thing. Too bad that it was not realistic for her to return to the Temple of Shadows. Just as Yi Qingtang was thinking about it again, she suddenly felt a strange warmth coming from her wrist. Yi Qingtang looked down, puzzled. The 9 souls ring on her wrist that had belonged to the Holy Lord of Shadows was now glowing with a blinding light. For a moment, Yi Qingtang could not figure out why it was glowing, and she was enveloped by the glow. Yi Qingtang was blinded by the bright light, but the illusory void's voice rang in her ears. Fortunate explorer, welcome back to the illusory void. Isn't that the god of nature's voice? Yi Qingtang was startled. The blinding light faded. What appeared before her eyes was not her room in Taiyuan Valley, but the nebula-filled illusory void that she had bid farewell to some time ago. The god of nature's radiant body floated before her eyes. A look of surprise flashed across Yi Qingtang's eyes, and she glanced at the 9 souls ring on her wrist. The 9 souls ring originally belonged to the Holy Lord of Shadows, and the illusory void had been sealed in the temple by the Holy Lord of Shadows herself. Perhaps the Holy Lord of Shadows had left her imprint on her private possessions, turning it into a key to the illusory void. That way, The Holy Lord of Shadows could enter the illusory void whenever she liked, even if she was not in the Temple of Shadows. Fortunate explorer, which constellation would you like to enter this time? The languid radiant body floated and shifted around before Yi Qingtang's eyes. Its tone was solemn and calm, but Yi Qingtang could discern a thread of anticipation in its voice. As the radiant Bodhi's voice rang out, the surrounding constellations drifted forth as if they would swallow her at any moment. Yi Qingtang glanced at the various constellations. She had chosen the one-star constellation previously because it was lowest ranked and would allow her to advance the most. Yi Qingtang knew that the higher the constellation level, the greater the effect it would have on her cultivation. But having experienced the one-star constellation, Yi Qingtang realized that although it could increase her cultivation state within a short time, she would need a period of refinement before she could fully grasp it. Also, since she could enter the illusory void anytime, she could take her time. So Yi Qingtang lifted her hand and pointed at the two-star constellation. Said the radiant body. Yi Qingtang could vaguely hear the radiant body muttering. But when she glanced at it, the radiant body appeared normal. You really won't consider the others? The four-star constellation is pretty good. The radiant body seemed to want to promote the other constellations. Yi Qingtang had personally experienced the high-level constellations that the radiant body had termed the best and most suitable. She had almost died there, so she chose to pass over any of the radiant Bodhi's recommendations. No need. I'll go there first, said Yi Qingtang. The radiant body seemed rather wistful. It slowly summoned the two-star constellation. Then Yi Qingtang picked up the little white tiger, who had been sprawled on her, and flew straight into the two-star constellation. Chapter 1582 Star Constellation 2. After her experience in the one-star constellation, Yi Qingtang was familiar with entering the world of the constellations. After experiencing heaven and earth spinning around her once again, Yi Qingtang smelled the strong scent of fish. The smell mingled with other odors to form a nauseating stench. Yi Qingtang slowly opened her eyes. Before her was a gloomy and narrow alley. It was getting dark, and the scene before her was shrouded in gray. Yi Qingtang subconsciously waited for a message from this world to surface in her mind. But she waited for a long time without any message appearing. Why are you waiting here? The god of nature, who had transformed into a child, floated out from behind Yi Qingtang. This time, you did not enter anyone's body. You can enter this world in your own body. The god of nature seemed to guess why Yi Qingtang was waiting and slowly explained it to her. Only then did Yi Qingtang study her clothing and discover she was wearing her original clothes. The space ring on her finger was also familiar. You need not have any particular identity to enter the world of constellations. You may enter in the body of someone from that world and take over their identity, or you may enter as yourself. The god of nature slowly explained. If she entered the world in someone's body, she would directly gain the original owner's knowledge of the world. If she came as herself, she would have no understanding of the world and would have to slowly explore it. Yi Qingtang did not feel that there was much difference between the two situations. In fact, she thought it was more convenient to enter as herself. Just as Yi Qingtang was preparing to question the god of nature about her current mission, she suddenly heard the clatter of a carriage. Lights flickered in the entrance of the dim alley. Although night was falling, there were still many people milling around. Yi Qingtang glanced at the people passing through the alley, and a look of surprise surfaced in her eyes. Go take a look at this world first. The god of nature was in no hurry to issue Yi Qingtang with her mission. Right now, Yi Qingtang needed to familiarize herself with the world she was in. Yi Qingtang slowly walked out of the dark alley. What she saw caused her to widen her eyes. The pedestrians hurrying along the street were all tall with deep-set features. They looked completely different from the people that Yi Qingtang had met previously. Most of them had golden hair and blue eyes or brown hair and green eyes. They had prominent noses and high cheekbones, and all of them were very tall. An alien race? Yi Qingtang could not help but feel curious when she saw this group of people with strange hair and eye colors. But when she examined them closely, She noticed that they did not have the aura of an alien race. The aura that surrounded them was exactly the same as that of the human race. Human race? Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. A troop of heavily armored knights was riding their tall horses across the street. Their armor looked peculiar, as if they were made entirely out of metal and protected their body completely. Their helmets also completely veiled their features so that nothing was exposed. A carriage was being escorted by the heavily armored knights. As they crossed the street, a carriage suddenly appeared. On it hung a drawing of a heavily armored man with a pair of wings. He looked somewhat like the winged people, but the structure of his wings was different. Chapter 1581 2-star Constellation 3, Bishop of York, please protect our troops. Various prayers emerged from the crowd. The respectful and devout expressions on the people's faces did not vanish even after the carriage and knights had gone. Yi Qingtang did not know how to feel when she saw this strange scene. These people were clearly humans, but they were completely foreign. Their hair color was like that of an alien race, and all of them, whether male or female, had deep-set features and snow-white skin. Even their attire was completely different from the clothes that Yi Qingtang was familiar with. Here, the women mostly wore tight-waisted dresses with long, loose skirts. The men all wore close-fitting clothes similar to the leather armor of martial arts outfits. Yi Qingtang quietly watched the scene before her as she thought about whether she should find a place to familiarize herself with her environment. She quickly found the place with the densest crowd. A place filled with the fumes of alcohol. Yi Qingtang thought that this must be a restaurant, so she stepped in. She realized that her appearance in the dim firelight had attracted the attention of many pedestrians. When this strange world's large-sized people saw a petite young girl with jet black hair and shining black eyes, they looked horrified. Yi Qingtang entered the establishment that looked like a restaurant and sat down in a corner. After she entered, she realized that this place was not what she had expected. A few bearded, burly men had rolled up their sleeves, showing their well-muscled biceps. They clutched huge mugs and were banging them together. She could vaguely see some white substance that looked like foam continually flowing from the mugs. A woman with an enchanting figure flicked her long, curly hair. She was dressed revealingly, and she giggled as she circulated among the men, who also embraced her. Her little hands teased their hairy chests. Yi Qingtang felt that this was a very strange place. Does this adorable young lady want anything? We have intoxicating wine and delicious beef here. The woman who was dressed so revealingly plopped herself down at Yi Qingtang's table. Her reddish-brown hair was long and hung to her shoulders in waves, and her dark green eyes smiled provocatively. Because Yi Qingtang was sitting in the corner, the darkness veiled her hair and eye color so that others could not see her clearly. Adorable, young lady? Yi Qingtang's lips twitched a little. Please, a portion of meat will do. Yi Qingtang spoke slowly in a warm and polite tone. The red-haired girl frowned slightly. Please? Will do. What does that mean? But she understood a portion of meat, so she smilingly noted it down and went to prepare it. When she brushed past her companions, she remembered to smile teasingly and say, "Hey, did you see that? That poor little lamb has ended up here. Pray that she won't be devoured by the wild beasts here." Fred's bar was a paradise for men. Yi Qingtang was seated in darkness and could hear the shouts from the surrounding people. With her keen sense of hearing, she could clearly hear the voice of every person present. She needed to extract information about this world from their conversations. (1582) 2-star Constellation 4. Amidst the shouting and scolding, Yi Qingtang could vaguely discern that the country she was in was called the Supreme League Kingdom. It was the most ambitious country on the mainland, and it had the greatest military strength compared to others. The knights of this kingdom had made incursions in every neighboring country and conquered much land. Any hostility was crushed to dust between the steel hooves of the Supreme League Kingdom's cavalry. As the Supreme League Kingdom expanded continually, another two countries, which were similarly ambitious, sheltered under the Supreme League Kingdom's wings and began a battle to dominate the world. But this battle against the rest of the world was at an impasse. A few powerful countries that had taken a neutral stance at first had become displeased by the Supreme League Kingdom's invasions and ordered punitive expeditions against the Supreme League Kingdom. Yi Qingtang quickly absorbed this information. Who knew what kind of mission that awful god of nature would give her? She glanced around, wondering what the god of nature was doing. Yi Qingtang was rendered speechless by what she saw. Only she could see that the god of nature had mixed in with the crowd and was dancing a strange dance with the curvaceous lady and the burly men. Does that mean that he just wanted to seize the opportunity to enter the various worlds and have some fun? Yi Qingtang was just feeling helpless when the curvaceous lady placed a plate of beef that was still oozing blood before her. She also gave her a blunt knife and a fork with broken tines. Yi Qingtang felt perplexed when she looked at the two utensils. Are there no chopsticks? Yi Qingtang looked helpless. She was about to throw the beef that was oozing with blood into the little white tiger's mouth when there was a sudden disturbance at the bar. A few well-built men, with their faces reddened with alcohol, had started brawling. The entire place was in chaos, and various utensils were sent flying. The shrill screams of a woman mingled with the shouts of the men. Although Yi Qingtang was sitting in a corner, she saw a burly man flying straight at her. She subconsciously raised her hand and caught the burly man, then placed him on the ground. The burly man seemed to be drunk. The moment he landed on the ground, he turned and tried to punch Yi Qingtang's head. A group of busybodies saw that he had suddenly swung at the petite young lady, and they roared in excitement. Yi Qingtang's expression did not change when she saw that this ungrateful man had swung his fist at her. She single-handedly caught the burly man's fist. The soft, pale little hand seized the fist that was even larger than her head. As the burly man realized that his fist would not budge, a look of agony appeared on his large, hairy face. "Get lost," Yi Qingtang said coldly. Then, she lifted her hand slightly and flung him aside. The burly man fell with a crash, splintering the table and chairs and causing the crowd to roar with laughter. "Charlie, your muscles are like cotton wool. What a joke. You can't even manage a little fellow." The burly man who had been flung aside was irritated and angry. He roared with rage and flung a huge beer barrel at Yi Qingtang. "Will there be any end to this?" Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. She had nothing to say about the actions of this barbarian. She picked up the little white tiger, and with a leap, her petite figure vanished before everyone's eyes. When she next appeared, she was standing behind the burly man. Her soft, pale little hand grasped the burly man's neck. Then she smashed his huge body onto the ground. "1583 Black, which won the mouth of the embarrassed and angry burly man, was filled with blood after his fall. He raised his head and was about to curse at her. Then he saw the beautiful young girl standing under the lamplight. Her long black hair was loose, and her black eyes were slightly narrowed. With just one glance, the burly man grew extraordinarily frightened. He quivered as he kneeled on the floor as if he had seen something terrifying. A strange mood hung over the bar, and there was an unprecedented dead silence. Had she been too rough? Yi Qingtang could not help but feel puzzled as she looked at the frozen crowd. She could not see any spirit energy moving around these people. The spirit energy in this world was average. From the way the men in this bar fought, Yi Qingtang could only describe their fighting abilities as barbaric. The god of nature was having fun. When he saw that the place had come to a standstill, he landed on Yi Qingtang with laughing eyes. Yi Qingtang had a feeling that this fellow was up to no good. A few slender men sneaked out of the back door of the bar when they saw that no one was paying attention to them. Yi Qingtang had no intention of making a scene here. When she saw the crowd's strange reaction, she thought that she had better leave. In any case, she now had a basic understanding of this world. But before Yi Qingtang could take a single step, the surrounding people shrank back in terror. They looked at her as if they had seen a ghost. Did they have to look so terrified even if her appearance was somewhat different from them? For the second time in her life, Yi Qingtang doubted her looks. Am I so terrifying? Yi Qingtang could not be bothered to find out why they were so afraid of her. She turned and made her way to leave this foul place. Yi Qingtang had just walked to the door, but had not yet stepped across the threshold, when she suddenly saw a hunchbacked old woman wearing tattered old clothes. The old woman suddenly rushed in front of Yi Qingtang, and her wrinkled face was filled with terror and anger. She took out a silver hexagram and squeezed a shrill scream from her throat. "You detestable servant of the devil! You are surrounded by holy light. Don't you dare spread disaster to our city!" Devil? Servant? Disaster? Yi Qingtang did not understand what the old woman was talking about, but she could clearly see that the old woman was glaring at her with the same expression that some self-righteous people in the first mainland used when attacking a heretic sect. "We must not allow this evil black witch to leave. She has succumbed to the wiles of the devil and has abandoned God's guidance. Her appearance here will destroy our little town." The old woman screeched in self-righteous tones as if she was prepared to fight the devil to death. Since she is already here, she has planted the seeds of a curse. The plague will come soon. We can only break the devil's curse by burning this black witch. We must not allow her to leave. The old woman roared with all her might. What black witch, what curse? Yi Qingtang was completely confused by the old woman. As the old woman bellowed, the terrified people in the bar recovered their wits. It was as if the words, "The plague will come soon," had caused even greater terror. Chapter 1584 Black Witch 2. A black witch was a servant of the devil who had sold her soul. They believed in the idea of a devil. In order to serve their master, they would cruelly bring all kinds of disasters on people. The most prominent features of these black witches were their long, jet black hair and dark eyes. The devil came from hell, and his favorite color was black. "We cannot allow her to leave this place or disaster will come upon our city." Someone in the panicked crowd let out a terrified wail. Those who feared the black witch began to surround the entire bar. Looking at the girl before them with tense expressions, they grabbed onto utensils and wooden stools. Yi Qingtang saw that the crowd before her was terrified. They stared at her in horror and anger. She was still rather puzzled as they continued to scold and roar at her. "Black witch? What's a black witch?" Yi Qingtang felt that she could still understand what was happening in the one-star constellation. Why was this two-star constellation so bewildering? As she looked at the pairs of terrified and hate-filled eyes, Yi Qingtang felt that if not for the fact that she entered this world in her own body, she would have thought that she had inhabited the body of a villain who had committed all kinds of evil deeds and killed many people. As the people continued to yell and scold, the clatter of horse hooves drew nearer. The people who had gathered outside the bar with burning torches when they heard the commotion now turned towards the sound. They saw heavily armored knights on their tall horses heading in their direction. Everyone acted as though they had seen their savior. Hopeful smiles appeared on their terrified faces. They looked reverently at the magnificent carriage behind the knights. "It's the Bishop of York. The Bishop of York is here. Damn black witch, you're doomed now. The Bishop of York will certainly send you back to hell." The people cheered. As the door of the carriage slowly opened, a middle-aged man dressed in a long, white robe alighted. His eyes were deep-set, and his brown beard was neatly combed. As everyone looked on respectfully, he glanced at the chaotic scene and frowned slightly. "Bishop of York, we've discovered a black witch. Please help us avert disaster and save those of us who are believers." The old woman who had been viciously snarling at Yi Qingtang rushed over to the Bishop of York the moment she saw him. She piously kneeled before the Bishop of York as she prayed. The Bishop of York's gaze fell on the young girl in the bar. He was startled when he saw that the girl had long, jet-black hair and shining eyes as dark as the night sky. "The claws of the devil are reaching for innocent citizens. You servants of the devil are not fit to step into this peaceful and happy place." The Bishop of York spoke solemnly. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at Yi Qingtang with disdain. With that, the Bishop of York raised his hand slightly. The Vatican's knights that had followed him now advanced a step and handed him a holy chalice made of pure silver. Water sloshed in the holy chalice, reflecting the firelight. "1585 Black Witch 3 When the crowd saw the holy chalice in the Bishop of York's hand, they seemed to see a ray of hope. Pious smiles appeared on their faces. In these years when war was widespread, the Vatican was their greatest source of spiritual comfort. Living on the edge between life and death, only God's guidance, as relayed by the Vatican, could relieve their fears and unease. One might say that in the hearts of the citizens, the Vatican was equivalent to imperial authority. At the Bishop of York's notice, everyone in the bar frantically scrambled to leave. They could not wait to distance themselves from the Black Witch. In a moment, the entire bar was completely empty, only Yi Qingtang was left. Large numbers of Vatican knights surrounded the bar. They held long spears and stood at the ready. The light of God covers the earth, dispelling all darkness. The servants of evil will eventually meet their destruction. While God is present, He will not permit evil souls like you to tread this earth. The Bishop of York held the silver holy chalice in one hand and a silver hexagram in the other. He raised his arms slightly as he intoned solemnly. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly as she watched this middle-aged man who looked like a quack. The next second, the Bishop of York gestured widely and slowly poured the holy water at the entrance of the bar. "I have sealed the servant of the devil within. Souls that have been corrupted by the devil have to be utterly destroyed with fire," the Bishop of York said solemnly. The knights from the Vatican instantly understood what the bishop meant. They poured barrels of strong alcohol on the bar and then threw their flaming torches into it. In a moment, the entire bar was engulfed by roaring flames. Cheers continually rang from the crowd. They seemed to be celebrating the burning and destruction of the devil's servant. "Bishop of York, why did a Black Witch appear here?" a devout believer asked in terror. The Bishop of York said, "For the past half a year, our Supreme League kingdom has been attacked from all sides. Our enemy countries must have secretly made a deal with the devil to devastate our country with plagues and disasters, and they want to destroy His Majesty's ambition of uniting this mainland." From the Supreme League kingdom's initial sweeping victories to today's impasse, they had experienced innumerable invasions. The stalemate was gradually turning into defeat. This made all the people in this kingdom jittery. To outsiders, the Vatican appeared to be impartial and independent. However, the Bishop of York and the others resided in the Supreme League kingdom and had naturally benefited from the kingdom. If the Supreme League kingdom were to be destroyed, they would not be treated well. In order to calm the people for the past few years, they had blamed the devil for all the disasters and accidents that occurred in the kingdom. This was the enemy countries persecuting them, not God punishing the kingdom. The Vatican had always been the people's greatest source of spiritual support, so since the Bishop of York said so, they believed him without question. "Abominable devil, abominable Black Witch, burn her. We must burn her to death." As tension in the group rose, the crowd's shouting grew more intense. Who in this group has interacted with the Black Witch? The Black Witch is extremely malicious. Just casual contact is sufficient for her to corrupt you. The Bishop of York spoke coldly as his gaze swept through the crowd. Everyone quickly looked away. Even the burly man whom Yi Qingtang had thrown to the ground did not dare to speak, for fear of being implicated. Chapter 1586 Black Witch 4 Black Witches specialized in voodoo and black magic. They could curse someone near them without being detected. No one dared to speak out and say that they had any kind of contact with the Black Witch. The glamorous lady who had brought Yi Qingtang her food now clasped her hands before her chest in terror and unease. Her stark white face looked at the Bishop of York as she kneeled in panic. "Beloved Bishop of York, the Black Witch tried to fool me into giving her food. I did not know who she was. Can I be saved? Has she put some evil black magic spell on me?" The woman was almost crying in fear. "My poor child." The Bishop of York looked at the woman's heaving bosom, and his expression wavered. He put on a compassionate look. "Don't worry, I have already burnt the Black Witch to death. You must return to the Vatican with me later. I will use holy water to exorcise the black magic curse, and you will be safe. Thank you, Bishop of York. The woman spoke with intense gratitude. Bishop of York, the black witch tried to kill me. Bishop, please save me. When the burly man who had fought Yi Qingtang heard that he could be brought back to the Vatican and cleansed with holy water, he immediately rushed forward. The Bishop of York frowned slightly. With that, even more people kneeled and admitted that they had been harmed by the Black Witch. The Bishop of York's expression grew grimmer and grimmer. The truth was that although there were many stories about black witches and various areas would frequently have stories of finding a black witch and putting her to death, most people only knew that black witches had a different hair and eye color. As that kind of pure black pigmentation was seldom seen in this mainland, its possessors were viewed as a foreign race, and it became proof of contact with the devil. Unless a black witch really displayed her dark arts, there was no way to ascertain their identity. This overgeneralization was merely to keep the people calm and to prevent any witch from escaping their grasp. Now, everyone was pleading to receive cleansing with holy water. Within the bar that was now engulfed in roaring flames, Yi Qingtang expressionlessly watched the blazing flames. She did not know what a so-called black witch was in this world. But she had no intention of being burnt to death by a bunch of stupid citizens. Since the god of nature had yet to issue her a mission, Yi Qingtang did not intend to waste time here. With that, Yi Qingtang raised her hand slightly. A white halo suddenly flew from her hand and rushed at the surrounding flames. The next second, she picked up the little white tiger and lightly pushed off from the ground. She leaped up and rushed out of the flames, encircling the bar. The Bishop of York, who was still communicating God's purpose to the people, suddenly heard an ear-splitting explosion. He looked up in surprise and saw a huge halo rush out from the bar and float in midair. A slender figure in the center of the white halo suddenly appeared in everyone's line of sight. The Bishop of York was completely stunned by what he saw. The surrounding citizens were terrified when they saw that the Black Witch, who was supposedly burnt to death, had now rushed into the void and was suspended in midair without anything under her feet. Undulating screams immediately rang out. Bishop of York, please save us. This Black Witch is too powerful. The Bishop of York was completely shocked. He stared stupidly at the young girl surrounded by the halo of light. Chapter 1587. White Magician 1. The halo of light surrounding Yi Qingtang seemed to interlace with the moonlight. How pure, holy, and sacred it was. This is white magic, the Bishop of York said, and his mouth was hung ajar in disbelief. It was rumored that the source of magic originally existed in this mainland, and those who possessed the source of magic were divided into two camps. One was black magic, which was used by followers of the devil, while the other was white magic, which represented a believer of the gods. However, after a massive disaster, those who had black magic and white magic died successively, and all traces of magic was wiped out from this mainland. All that people knew was just rumors regarding magic. Recently, people would always relate disasters to the black witches who once mastered black magic, while the ambassadors of the white magic never appeared ever again. Yet, at this very instant, the Bishop of York's heart palpitated fiercely. As a member of the Vatican, he had read various documents in the Vatican that recorded information on white magic. The most obvious description of white magic was none other than its color. Clean, pure white, and flawless like that of moonlight. The Bishop of York suddenly felt great pressure, and his soul even shuddered from this feeling. Wasn't the white light surrounding the girl coming from none other than the one and only white magic? Bishop of York, quickly execute your holy powers and eliminate this black witch. The crowd in the surroundings was unaware of the Bishop of York's shock as they were anxiously seeking protection. Towering above everyone, Yi Qingtang frowned slightly as she looked at the incredulously foolish people with faint impatience. She did not intend to carelessly kill anyone in this constellation world, but it would be a different story if they came down on her. At this moment, the Vatican knights in the surroundings saw Yi Qingtang, who suddenly dashed out of the fire ring, and they viewed her as a powerful enemy. Then, they immediately gripped onto their spears and threw it toward the girl in the sky. Numerous spears turned into bolts of light and flew across the sky. Yi Qingtang looked at the incoming spears emotionlessly. Lifting her sleeve slightly, she released a little spirit energy and crushed those sturdy spears into dust in a flash. Screams erupted among the crowd as they witnessed such a sight. However, the light in the Bishop of York's eyes intensified. This has to be it. I'm sure of it. Apart from the legendary source of magic, what else could achieve such tremendous power? The Vatican Knights forcefully suppressed their fear when they noticed that the Black Witch's magic became increasingly stronger. They took the bow and arrow on their backs, drew the bowstring, and prepared to attack the Black Witch in the sky. To protect their land, they shall not fear black magic. Yi Qingtang's brows slightly. She vaguely sensed that these people mistook her for some scary thing, but she did not do anything that was out of line and did not have any intention to harm them despite their harassment. Why did they still not understand? You cannot hurt them. The god of nature, who had remained mum for a long time, suddenly spoke when Yi Qingtang gradually lost her patience. Why? Yi Qingtang asked calmly. Because this is related to the mission that I'm giving you. The god of nature smiled. Trickster. Chapter 1588 White Magician 2. Just as Yi Qingtang was considering if she should just fly away, the revered Bishop of York suddenly squeezed out of the crowd with a look of excitement. He rushed to those Vatican Knights who were about to attack Yi Qingtang and frantically put down their bows by force. Stop! No one is allowed to attack without my orders. The Bishop of York berated loudly. The Vatican Knights stopped immediately as they looked at him in confusion. On the other hand, the surrounding people had a look of understanding. The Bishop of York is going to attack her personally. Bishop of York, quickly send this abominable Black Witch to hell. The Bishop of York's forehead was sweating profusely as he looked at the cold-looking girl in the sky. He took a step back and said sincerely, "Respectable white magician, please forgive us for offending you. We were blinded by stupidity and did not recognize your identity." The clamoring crowd was utterly dumbfounded. White magician? Bishop of York, are you joking? Isn't she a Black Witch? The Bishop of York frowned and said, "Black hair and black eyes are not characteristics unique to a Black Witch. Our God was the one who first selected such a hair and eye color. Afterward, the devil despicably stole all of this away and intentionally searched for servants with the same characteristics to confuse our perception." What the Bishop of York said was true, as these were clearly recorded in the documents in the Vatican. However, everything related to the god was recorded by the Vatican, and every time a girl with black hair and eyes appeared later on, most of their appearances were accompanied by disasters and epidemics. Hence, over time, there were only traces of Black Witches in the people's memory. Everyone panicked in a flash. It should be known that white magicians existed in the epoch of magic and was the closest to the darling of God. They learned to master the power of magic from God and fought against the black magicians to protect this mainland. Yi Qingtang originally intended to leave once and for all, but who would have thought that there would be such an intriguing change of events? Before this, everyone had a different attitude towards her, and Yi Qingtang could sense that they seemed to have mistaken the spirit energy around her as some other force and thus mistook her identity. "Do you want to know what your mission in this world is?" The god of nature asked with a laugh. Yi Qingtang faintly had an ominous feeling. The god of nature looked at the devout-looking Bishop of York and told Yi Qingtang, "Help the Supreme League Kingdom unify this mainland, and you personally have to gain everyone's faith." This time, the god of nature did not split the missions and instead gave Yi Qingtang the only mission all at once: to gain everyone's faith. After hearing this extremely familiar mission, Yi Qingtang felt that the missions that the god of nature assigned her to complete in the various constellation worlds were related in a certain way. Nonetheless, since the mission was already given, Yi Qingtang knew what she had to do next. Looking at the Bishop of York, who mistook her for a white magician, Yi Qingtang slowly descended from the sky. Her leisurely and casual movement caused a stir in the surroundings as everyone looked in astonishment at the girl who was floating in the air and surrounded by light. Chapter 1589 White Magician 3 The Bishop of York looked at Yi Qingtang, who descended quite some height. The closer she got, the more he could feel the powerful aura exuded by the lights surrounding her. The source of magic had already disappeared from this mainland for a long time. Their ancestors once said that the source of magic might not have completely disappeared from this mainland and that perhaps it was hidden in a deeper area. The Bishop of York had always thought that the ancestors said that for self-comfort, but he truly believed this saying when he saw the light around Yi Qingtang. The source of magic must not have disappeared. Otherwise, why did this white magician still have magical powers? Respectable white magician, we were rude and impetuous. Please forgive us, the Bishop of York said sincerely. Offending a white magician was a disaster for every kingdom, but winning the favor of a white magician was the supreme glory of any kingdom. Since this white magician appeared in their Supreme League kingdom, did it mean that she might have once been a member of this kingdom? The Supreme League kingdom was currently in hot water, and if they could obtain the help of the white magician, they would definitely be able to overcome this suffering and welcome the light of victory. It's all right, Yi Qingtang said indifferently. It's all right? The Bishop of York did not understand what Yi Qingtang meant, but seeing that she did not have any unusual expression, he faintly guessed that she probably did not blame them. The Bishop of York heaved a great sigh of relief immediately. The white magician is indeed a white magician. Based on the way she speaks, she is probably utilizing colloquialisms of the epic of magic. The Bishop of York shuddered at that thought. Could it be that the white magician before me is a lucky survivor of the massive disaster during the epic of magic? Wouldn't she be thousands of years old then? The Bishop of York was even more astounded. Seeing that Yi Qingtang's clothes were completely different from theirs, he believed even more strongly that his guess was right. Everyone else could not help but be astonished when they saw the Bishop of York's humble behavior. White magician? She's actually a white magician? The white magician actually ate the food that I made. I'm so lucky. A young woman in the bar was about to faint from bliss, an attitude completely unlike her earlier disgust and fear of the Black Witch. What about that? The white magician even touched me with her hands. The muscular man who was knocked down by Yi Qingtang had a completely different attitude as well. He touched his swelling head with a pleased and satisfied expression, drawing the envy of his friends. Seeing that Yi Qingtang acknowledged her identity as a white magician, the Bishop of York immediately said, "We were unaware of your arrival. Please head to the Vatican for me to express my apologies." The Bishop of York was aware of the kingdom's current difficulty and was obviously unwilling to let the powerful white magician leave. Yi Qingtang nodded and signaled the Bishop of York to lead the way. He raised his finger and pointed in the direction of the Vatican. He originally intended to invite Yi Qingtang into the carriage to head there together, but who would have thought that Yi Qingtang would simply fly there after knowing its location? Her glowing figure turned into a bolt of light under the moonlight, and she flew across the city like a shooting star. This instantly attracted the exclamation of many, and some even kneeled on the ground and made a wish silently. The Bishop of York dared not to hesitate and quickly returned with his men. Chapter 1590 White Magician for the Vatican Palace was situated in the corner of a town. Yi Qingtang learned from the Bishop of York that the town that she was in now was a small town of the Supreme League Kingdom, and most of the fit young men were sent to the front line by the Supreme League Kingdom. Previously, those muscular men she met in the bar were also going to head to the front line a few days later. Gradually, Yi Qingtang learned more clues about this world from their conversation. From the source of magic to the epic of magic, the disaster and the war between the Black Witches and White Magicians, as well as the war that was happening on this mainland right now. This war involved every country on this mainland regardless of their size, and no one was fortunate enough to escape it. As the kingdom that first incited the war, the Supreme League Kingdom arose the dissatisfaction of other countries, and thus the war expanded to an unimaginable scale. Yi Qingtang listened to the Bishop of York silently. Although he did not say it clearly, he secretly sounded her out if she was from the Supreme League Kingdom. After Yi Qingtang gave him a definite answer, He evidently heaved a sigh of relief and continuously lamented about the dangerous situation that the Supreme League Kingdom was currently facing. Yi Qingtang knew what the Bishop of York meant from his tearful complaints. His goal coincided with hers. It is truly regretful for the Supreme League Kingdom to face such a situation. Yi Qingtang sighed. The emperor initially only wanted to get rid of those avaricious people from the Luo Kingdom and did not expect things to develop to this state. Everyone on this mainland was deceived by the people of the Luo Kingdom. We will be destroyed sooner or later. The people of the Luo Kingdom are the remaining evildoers left behind by the devil on this mainland. They're the best at using flowery speech to bewitch people. The Supreme League Kingdom's initial war was over a small country named the Luo Kingdom, which was stuck between various large and powerful kingdoms. The size of Luo Kingdom's territory was pitifully small and was less than the size of a province in the Supreme League Kingdom. Lord White Magician, please help the emperor. He has become a supposed devil to all the other kingdoms, but only we know the reason behind his actions. Without the emperor, the citizens of the Supreme League Kingdom would probably die from starvation, the Bishop of York said anxiously. I am willing to do so if it can save the citizens of the Supreme League Kingdom from disaster. Yi Qingtang concurred with the Bishop of York. The Bishop of York's eyes shone, and he expressed his gratitude to Yi Qingtang. He immediately ordered people to arrange a room for Yi Qingtang before hurrying off to contact his superiors so as to personally bring this precious white magician to the emperor and gain glory for himself. The Bishop of York did want to help the kingdom, but this did not obstruct him from gaining benefits either. If he could personally send a powerful white magician to the Supreme League Kingdom's emperor, he would definitely rise in ranks in the Vatican. And he no longer needed to be stuck in this remote little town. As Yi Qingtang looked at the busy Bishop of York, her knowledge regarding this two-star constellation world deepened again. It had to be said that this world was greatly different from her original world. However, it was great that she already knew what the mission was and how to proceed with it. Yi Qingtang returned to the room that the Bishop of York prepared for her, calmed her heart down, and meditated on the ground cross-legged as she waited for good news from the Bishop of York. Chapter 1591, Allied Forces, 1. Night fell, and the people in the town were fast asleep. Dark clouds covered the moon silently as though it was a premonition of the arrival of death. In the room, Yi Qingtang, who was cultivating through meditation, suddenly opened her eyes as she heard some noise. She immediately stood up to check what happened, but the moment she opened her room, the white-robed believers were scampering all over the place with terrified expressions while making cries that sounded like knells. Yi Qingtang originally wanted to ask someone about the situation, but based on their current state, she probably would not get any answer. Thus, Yi Qingtang simply left the Vatican and headed to the area of chaos. The back of the town was guarded by a garrison, but this place was covered in smoke right now. Numerous figures were locked in a deadly battle in the darkness, and swords glistened from the reflection of the moonlight. Tall figures collapsed in the pool of blood one after another, and the mixture of the heavy blood and smoke choked everyone. General Mark, the Allied forces' troops are too great in numbers. They launched a sneak attack in the night, and we have suffered a great loss. One soldier dripping with blood spoke as he looked at the highest-ranked commander, General Mark, in the town. Mark frowned deeply as he looked at the intense battle not far away. This town was in a remote location and was extremely far away from the main battlefield. However, no one expected the Allied forces to suddenly attack this place. The abrupt attack left the guards completely unprepared. The enemy's numbers were far above theirs, and Mark's guards suffered a great loss in just the first wave of battle. General, should we retreat first? The soldier had not finished his sentence when he was immediately kicked to the floor by Mark. I will behead whoever dares to retreat. Listen to me carefully. No matter what, we must endure the Allied forces' attacks. Even if I'm left with my final breath, I will never let them invade into the land of the Supreme League Kingdom. Mark unsheathed the heavy sword on his waist with a sharp clank. My troop only has soldiers who died in a battle and absolutely no deserters. Do you all hear me? Yes. General. The soldiers were shocked by their general who pledged his life to guard the defensive line, and all of them prepared to fight with their lives on the line. Don't stand around. Polish your spears and follow me to the battlefield. General Mark waved his hand and secured his helmet before getting onto a horse in preparation to fight with his life. The soldiers guarding this place numbered fewer than 1/5 of the Allied forces' troops, and even if they fought hard to the end, it would be difficult to achieve victory. Mark was very clear that the Allied forces were fully prepared this time, and the number of mobilized troops was far more than what met the eye. He had faintly seen a black lion flag flying at the back of the battlefield, and the elite forces represented by the flag truly sent a shiver down Mark's spine. Nevertheless, Mark had not extra time to consider these factors. His homeland was right behind him, and a disastrous nightmare would fall upon them should they retreat. Kill! Mark yelled furiously. The shouts of the army filled the air as they charged into the battlefield with him. As Mark and the army charged into the battlefield, a slender figure slowly walked out of the town. Chapter 1592 Allied Forces. Tu Yi Qingtang's brows furrowed slightly as she watched the murderous and bloody scene before her. This town and the nearby surroundings were still peaceful before night fell. Who could have expected that this place would turn into a hell-like battlefield in just a few hours? Yi Qingtang walked toward that fierce battlefield slowly. The ferocious soldiers' eyes were bloodshot as they waved their weapons continuously and chopped the heads of their enemies. Dismembered limbs and corpses were strewn all over the ground as sounds of slaughtering filled the air. Ah! A sharp cry pierced the night sky. A guard who was soaked in blood had numerous wounds on his body, and his silver armor was completely stained red. A soldier from the Allied forces chased after him fiercely as though he was hunting his prey. That guard looked at most 16 years old and was still a teenager. He instinctively wanted to avoid the arrival of death, but the fear on his face froze when he saw Yi Qingtang walking toward them from the town. He could not retreat. If he did, his family and friends would be massacred. Valor rushed into his chest. His retreating footsteps stopped and changed direction. With a beastly roar and bloodshot eyes, he charged toward the incoming Allied force soldier and raised his sword to protect his homeland. This is a battlefield. Quickly, the teen guard shouted with all his might, but the Allied force soldier slashed his shoulder in the next second, and blood spewed all over the place. The remainder of his sentence was replaced by a cry as the teen guard collapsed before Yi Qingtang and stained her pure white dress with his blood. The bloodthirsty Allied forces soldier suddenly saw a girl in strange clothes on the battlefield and noticed that the guards seemed to be protecting her earlier on. Almost instantly, the Allied forces soldier unsheathed his bloody sword, ignored the dying teen guard, and slashed at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was slightly surprised, but she remained expressionless as she watched the incoming sword. Suddenly, she lifted her hand, and the heavy sword was trapped between her fingers easily. The Allied forces soldier was filled with astonishment. His sword seemed to be soldered into iron and would not budge an inch. Can I kill this? Yi Qingtang turned to look at the god of nature. The god of nature stopped her when she wanted to attack the people of the Supreme League Kingdom earlier on. The god of nature floating behind Yi Qingtang nodded and said, "Of course. They're the Allied forces, the enemy of the Supreme League Kingdom." The god of nature was very knowledgeable about this world. Allied forces. Yi Qingtang mumbled. In all honesty, everyone on this chaotic battlefield was heavily armored, and she could not tell who was who. However, the teen in the armor from earlier on seemed to want her to leave this place. In that case, he should be a soldier of the Supreme League Kingdom. Yi Qingtang immediately distinguished the two types of armors representing the different camps. With permission from the god of nature, Yi Qingtang simply broke the sword without hesitation and thrust it into the enemy soldier's neck while he was still stunned. Blood spouted into the sky in a flash. Chapter 1593 Allied Forces 3 The wounded teen guard originally thought that the innocent girl would also be slain by the sword, but unexpectedly, he witnessed that girl killing the strong Allied force soldier casually. Yi Qingtang remained emotionless as she watched the Allied force soldier collapse before her. Bending down slightly, she helped up the teen guard who wanted to protect her and discreetly fed him a pill before gently sending him to a safe spot at the border of the battlefield. You. A look of surprise was reflected in the youth's eyes as he stared blankly at Yi Qingtang's stunning face under the moonlight. However, in the next second, Yi Qingtang leaped up and flew toward the most intense area of conflict on the battlefield. The mission that the god of nature assigned her was to help the Supreme League Kingdom unify the mainland. Thus, its enemies could be killed. In the chaotic battlefield, a white figure suddenly appeared. The troops from the opposing camps were locked in a fierce battle, but they suddenly saw a petite girl appearing before their eyes. Before the guards could react, that girl turned into the incarnation of a death god and killed 5 Allied force soldiers instantly like a bolt of lightning. Blood splattered everywhere. Before the guards could take a clear look at her face, she disappeared before their eyes once again. However, wherever she appeared, the soldiers of the Allied forces died tragically without any chance to struggle or resist, just like a powerless lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Given the martial skills of this world, Yi Qingtang could easily kill thousands of people in a second with her current martial realm. However, the soldiers of the Supreme League Kingdom were entangled in this fight, and Yi Qingtang was worried that she may accidentally kill a few Supreme League Kingdom soldiers. Helpless, she could only control her powers to prevent the Supreme League Kingdom soldiers from being harmed. Yet even so, her appearance completely turned the tables around. On the battlefield, General Mark was on a horse as he slashed his sword around and killed numerous enemies. However, at this very instant, his body was covered with many injuries, and his breathing gradually turned irregular. The guards fighting alongside Mark were extremely worn out as well, and their expressions darkened as they noticed the continual decline in guards. General Mark, we can't fight on like this anymore. Otherwise, all of our brothers will die here. General, to hell with being afraid of them. Even if our entire troop is wiped out, we must not retreat. Mark roared in a deep tone. Just as everyone was completely disheartened, they suddenly realized that the Allied forces around them seemed to be decreasing continuously. What's happening? Could it be that the troops in the nearby town found out about the war and rushed over to provide reinforcements? Impossible. The nearest town to us is about 2 to 3 days' journey away from us. It's impossible for them to find. General Mark, look. A guard seized an opportunity and shouted loudly while pointing in the air above the battlefield with his sword. Mark looked in the direction, only to see a slender figure shuttling through the battlefield like a bolt of lightning. Blood splattered every area she passed by, and countless Allied forces soldiers were killed by that white streak of lightning. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.